Okay, good morning, everyone. Phenomenal to see you here. Thank you for joining me. This is a show on the dating crisis in the Orthodox Church. And I considered postponing the show until next week. The reason is that immediately after this, I have an interview with an academic. He taught at Princeton for a while. He wrote a book on freedom, the end of freedom. The show is being aired Wednesday afternoon, probably. It's going to be a great show with Dr. Daniel Canty. I ask you to tune in for that. The other reason why I considered postponing this is that I asked for feedback on X, on Facebook, over email, etc., on what people saw as the problems of dating. Okay. Now, what spurred this is this girl, Catherine. She wrote an article. And I'm gonna get to how I met her, that there was a show with her that was scheduled for today that I had to cancel last week. I'm gonna get to all of that, okay? But she wrote this article in which she polled about 41 women, and she asked them, and had to be single women. She asked them, what has your experience been dating in the church? And when I saw this poll, I thought, this is absolutely awful. This is a horrible poll. And I decided I would cast my net much wider. And you guys were so generous, you were so kind. I got hundreds. I mean, not 50, not 100, not 100, no, hundreds of messages, of emails, of Facebook messages, X messages, text messages, voice messages, you name it, from people explaining what the dating situation was that they had experienced in the church. And I'm going to go through those answers, because you could, after about reading 50 or so of these, you could start to tell exactly which group the person was in based simply off of what they were saying the experience had been, or was, I should say. I want to thank the X user Good Godfather. He created this excellent thumbnail pro bono. Great guy. A link to his X account will be in the video description. Okay. Now, the point of doing the show is the fact that I am my brother's keeper. No one is an island. If I'm in a parish full of guys who are miserable because they can't get married, or I'm in a parish full of women who are miserable because they can't get married, or I'm in a parish full of married people who are miserable because they have horrible marriages, uh, I should do something about this. I may not be able to fix it, but I can aid in alleviating the situation somewhat. We are our brother's keepers. Whether or not we want to think we are, we really are. The one person in the Bible that I can think of who denies this is Cain. God goes, "Where is your brother?" And Cain goes, "Am I my brother's keeper?" You absolutely are your brother's keeper. The other is because I've been asked by numerous people, including clergy, to do a show on this. And the reason is the clergy go, people listen to YouTubers, they don't necessarily listen to clergy. The other is that I'm going to talk about a number of issues in this that the clergy, and they have told me this directly, simply cannot talk about. They can't talk about it in church because maybe there's children present, maybe they have people in their parish. Well, actually, of course, they have people in their parish who would be highly offended by this. We're going to get into all that stuff. Okay. Now, I will be taking super chats today. Pufferfish based. He's thinking he should be renamed the Piranha. He's a little aggressive, but he's good. He's going to be sorting out the questions. Keep all of your questions, all of them, on topic. Please don't start asking me about the papacy on a stream that's about dating and marriage in the church, please. So again, if you have a question, put a bunch of Q's before it, like 3 Q's, right? I'm going to prioritize super chats because that's how I put bread on the table for my wonderful wife and children. Okay, so how I conducted this isn't really a survey. I'm going to call it a survey. At first, I thought it would be, and I realized it was a lot easier, or it was a lot more productive, I should say, if I simply read these and distill the information from them. Because when you give people a 1 to 10, if you give them a, which one do you fit into of these four, A lot of people just go, I don't know, 3. They don't know. But if you just ask them to tell you their personal story, you learn a lot more about them. And that was one of the issues with Catherine's survey. So I asked single people to tell me their age cohort. So are they Gen Z? Are they millennial? Are they Gen X? I also just asked people to tell me their age because there's a lot of Gen X's who want to be millennials. I'm not going to lie, don't blame them. Okay. And then to tell me what dating is like in the church. Now, I also asked recently married people what dating had been like in the church or what their dating experience was. I asked married people what they saw as the largest issue in the dating market for single people. Now, of the hundreds of people who wrote in, about 25 to 30 of them were women. All of them were engaged or married. None of them were single. None. Okay. The rest were both married. As far as men, some were married, some were engaged, some were dating, some were single. Okay. None of them were dating. They were all engaged. They were all married. Okay. And we're going to get to why that is very shortly. And 98% of the messages that came in, maybe 99%, they showed significant empathy for the situation that Gen Z is in. Um, Only a handful of messages out of these hundreds showed any sort of mocking spirit. Most of them were extremely empathetic. They really felt for both the males and the females. They were also very, very real about the problems that they saw. And, if you're gonna climb Mount Everest, you're not gonna do it alone. You're not gonna watch YouTube videos on it. No, you're gonna get a Sherpa. And so these people, are sort of like your Sherpa, married people. They're like your Sherpa in, getting married, okay? Now, okay, I took some pretty copious notes for this one, so I apologize that I won't be staring directly at the camera the whole time. Trying to stay organized here. Catherine's article infuriated people, and I'll get to why at the end of this video. I'm not going to start it out talking about the issues with her. Now, her survey had a selection bias because it was limited to women who are still single. Women who dated successfully in the church, meaning ones who it resulted in marriage, were excluded from Catherine's survey. So this was a huge fault in her survey. I don't know if this was by design or if she just never thought of it, but this is a huge fault. It excluded people who had dated successfully. Okay. If there's a ratio of 10 to 1 or 15 to 1 of single men to single women converting, I mean, a woman is presented with 15 guys and, none of those 15 guys are good enough for one of these women. That's not very likely. Now, the women who wrote into my survey reported that they were picked up pretty quickly. Most of them while they were still inquirers. They were not even named catechumens yet, and they were picked up right away. Because there's so many guys that if there's a good woman, boom, they're gonna go grab them right away. So the women that Catherine polled were likely the ones that no man wanted for any reason. Catherine was getting the undesirables, I'll put it that way, okay? And Catherine's article comes off as an HR performance review in which they browbeat you to the point that they think you're not gonna ask for a raise, but they don't browbeat you enough that you go, "Forget it, I quit." And the reason for that is very simple. Catherine is a real life corporate HR girl. That is her job. She works in human resources as a recruiter. So she brought that HR attitude in. And if you want to know why I'm in the trades, it's because I don't want thousands or hundreds or dozens of Catherines working over me. For all of you guys in the corporate world, I apologize. It must be horrible. Now, I'm first going to tell you guys my personal observations about Gen Z because I've worked with a lot of you. I interact with a lot of you through church, through work. I see a lot of you guys. At the dojo, I see you guys. I'm at the dojo anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week. Um, and I have to say that you guys have really been shafted for a variety of reasons. One, you had Gen X as your parents, and having Gen X as your parents should count as a disability. I'm just gonna say it. They did not raise you guys. They threw you to the wolves. And for all the faults that boomers have, boomers tended to be very careful about slowly inoculating their children to reality. Gen X, it was, well, I was a latchkey kid. My kids can too. Here's a smartphone with unfettered internet access. Oh, my 12-year-old is addicted to hardcore adult content. Oh, well, he'll find his way just like I did. Latchkey kid. We're resilient. And I think what it did was that tsunami of reality hitting you guys, it just shocked you. It was too much. You didn't know how to process it. You were like someone who the first time you went out to swim, you got hit by a tsunami and managed to survive. And now you're not even going into a swimming pool. You can't take a bath now. You're terrified of water. And that's sort of what happened to you guys in a very real way. The other thing is you got shafted with a horrible economy right as you're entering the workforce. I mean, it's really very sad. And you're growing up in the worst school system the country has ever known. In a very real way, you guys are casualties of reality. And I don't say that in a condemning tone. I say that in a like you guys are through no fault of your own, you started out so far between before you guys started out so far behind the start line that you were going to have to work exceptionally hard just to get to the start line. And it's made worse by the fact that you have all these creature comforts around you. So it feels like things should work out, but they're not. You're having a hard time getting jobs. You're having a really hard time meeting someone. You have this corporate culture that's bled into the whole culture around you, that's made it very hostile. The dating market itself, you have all these dating apps that have turned the dating market hostile as well. Um, you have people who have incredibly short attention spans. I'm sure the majority of you listening to this right now are probably doom scrolling. So you're not absorbing what I'm saying. You're not absorbing what you're doom scrolling through. You probably have some music going on in the background. You're chasing dopamine hit after dopamine hit after dopamine hit. And that's probably why, as we're going to get into next, you guys just look washed out. You look washed out, you act washed out because you are washed out. You're exhausted, okay? And we're gonna get into things that you can do about this that can help you out, okay? Especially for males, but also for females, also for females. And again, I gotta emphasize this is a generalization, okay? I realize we have a lot of women, listening, so I have to explain what a generalization is. A generalization means not everyone, but a majority or a large tendency towards it. So not 100%, but maybe 70%, maybe 60%, maybe 90%. Maybe it's just the largest group. Maybe it's 30%, but all the other, subcategories in it are 5 to 10%, okay? That's a generalization. Really sad that I have to explain that now, but anyway. Okay, what I'm gonna say, I'm not saying this to condemn you guys, I'm saying this as an observation. Now, my experience with Gen Z, especially with Gen Z males, is that you guys are very funny. You have a wicked sense of humor. The other is that you guys work really hard when you are micromanaged. And, it's do this very specific thing over here, and then when you are done, take these blankets, fold them into eighths, okay, or into sixteenths or whatever, stack them size wise over there on that largest to smallest, right? As long as you're micromanaged, you guys do very, very well. Um, the I mean, the other issue that I find with Gen Z in general, though, or a series of issues, and this is whether male or female, I don't know. If you could really make well, I shouldn't say I don't know. I do know, but I'd say that I don't know if you could say one group is more this way or the other, but just in general, I find with male and female Gen Zs is this. You guys lack warmth. You are the most detached people I have ever met. You are like stray cats. When I go to shake your guys' hands, it's this sort of like hand goes out and you just kinda limp. There's no like, "Oh, hi," like grab both hands and shake it. There's no like touching the elbow, touching the arm. There's no like you don't exude that warmth that people want to experience that makes them feel welcomed. The very way that you guys interact, it screams, "Leave me alone." Or maybe better yet, it screams, "I'm terrified to interact." When I interact with you guys, my first thought is, "Okay, if you had like like, are you on like, what is going on? Why are you just sitting there, like, almost shaking?" This is really common, it's very, very sad. The others, you guys lack charisma. I think the term you use is riz. Most of you lack an interesting personality. You guys are boring people. Part of that is because you don't go out and have adventures, you don't get to know people, and if you do have interesting things about you, you keep them buried so deeply that you don't let anyone know. I'll give you an idea of what I mean about how you guys are not necessarily interesting people. And if, again, I've met some that are interesting, but as a group in general, you guys are you have very flattened, very muted personalities. Give you an idea of what I mean. When I was 22 years old, I met this guy with one arm at university. His name was Khaled Jaraisa. And we started chatting. And he goes, if you'd like, I can arrange for you to rent a room from someone in Bethlehem and spend the summer there. And I was like, oh, cool. This sounds amazing. So I started teaching myself Arabic, reading and writing it. Took a year of it in university. Wasn't very much help. Okay. I hinted at going and living in the West Bank to my parents, and they were like, "What?" And I okay. So I told them, "I'm gonna go spend the summer in Italy." And instead, I took a plane to Tel Aviv, landed at Ben Gurion Airport, took a taxi to Bethlehem, set up shop, lived with an Arab family. They didn't speak much English. Or no, sorry, the first family did, and then I moved to the next family. They just spoke hardly any English. I had to learn Arabic. I had to figure out how to negotiate my way through the market to get things that I needed. I became exceptionally good at bargaining for things because I was not afraid to make a scene. At one point, I had a merchant try and buy something from me that I had bought off of another guy. He couldn't believe I had gotten it for a price that low. So I said, "Can I buy it and resell it?" And I go, "No." And he goes, "Please." Um, I learned how to go through Israeli checkpoints. I was there for 6 months. I had to wander into Jordan for a visa run to renew my visa. On the way out, I got detained by the Mossad for several hours. Came back, lived in my parents' basement for 15 months, headed to Syria. I turned 23 in the West Bank. I turned, I want to say 25 in Damascus, Syria. I lived there for 2 years. I was there when the fighting started. I got kicked out of the country. Um, met my wife there, taught English, developed a curriculum for an English language institute there where I taught, met lots of friends. I would go out, I would just meet people, go hang out at their house. I remember being out in villages in rural Syria where they're like, yeah, we've never had a white person here. Or at least they don't remember. Maybe they had one last week and they just didn't remember. I don't know. I went through Turkey, Sultan of Oman, Thailand, China, Lebanon, Jordan, all those things before I turned 30. Most of it was in my mid 20s. Um, I managed to bastardize my way through Chinese. Um, my Arabic is pretty darn good. At one point, my Turkish was pretty decent as well. Okay, that's an interesting person. You guys lack the personality to do something like that because you're not adventurous people. And it's exceptionally easy to do these things if you just decide, I'm just going to see what happens, especially if you're a guy. If you're a girl, please do not do things like this. It's super dangerous. Yeah. The other issue you guys have, oh, and I should say this, I know dozens of millennials who did things like this. I don't know a single Gen Z who did something like this. And the millennials I know who I'm saying did something like I did, I know them here in America. I mean, I met even more overseas, but that would be a sample bias. And when I tell guys who are, 25, 26, 27, go spend a year, go teach English in Cambodia for a year, see what happens. They're just like, I don't know if I can do that. Okay, you got to have that confidence. One of the reasons you guys have massive problems in dating, getting a woman to be attracted to you, women find confidence sexier than anything else. And if you have the confidence to go, yeah, I'll show up there. I'll just go do it. I'm going to figure it out. It's going to be a shit show, but I'll make it work. Whoa, that's confidence. Women love that. The other issue is you guys are not interested in other people. Not only are you not interested in people, you're not interested in other people. So, I talk to you guys and I go to churches, I go to events, and you guys sort of, come say hello. And I love meeting all of you. And again, this is just a general thing I've noticed. And I go, hi, how are you doing? And you guys are like, I'm good. And I go, what's your name? Uh, Demetrius. And I go, how old are you? I'm 22. Okay, so okay, there you had it. So, hi, how are you? There's no like, I'm good. How are you doing? You know, of course, you guys know my name. You probably know about how old I am, but it continues like that throughout the conversation. So, what do you enjoy doing? Um, uh, um, Playing D&D. I mean, are you going to ask me what I enjoy doing? I mean, you guys don't show interest in other people. You spend a lot of time talking about debates that you've seen. You spend a lot of time talking about other things that are not personal. It's almost like it's too painful to venture into the personal. Okay. That's just something I've noticed. You guys are proof that being raised by Gen X is a disability. And I'm not saying that as a joke. They, I'm not going to say they ruined you, but you guys are salvageable. You are fixable. You need mentorship desperately. With mentorship, I think you guys are very salvageable. You guys will be very successful. But without that, you guys, you're ruined. The other thing is that all of you, male and female, you guys look 8 to 10 years older than you really are. I regularly was talking to a girl at our church, 24 years old. I was like, I thought she was 35. She's pretty. I thought, wow, she's, okay, maybe she spent a lot of time in the sun. Nope. Moved here from a rainy state. Okay. You guys just, it's the stress eats you guys alive. It's the stress, it's the anxiety, it's the doom scrolling. Okay. Now I'm going to kind of go off on you a bit and be this annoying older person who does this. I'm 42. I've turned into that guy who I always knew I would, who would complain about the youth. Talking to you guys is like talking to a granite countertop. We had a guy at our church. Let's just say his name is Dimitri Baklavopoulos, right? Baklavopoulos. By the way, there were people who didn't realize that the name Baklavopoulos is a joke. It's no Greek is actually named Baklavopoulos or Souvlakidis. Souvlaki is a meat sandwich, baklava, right? Let's just say his name was Dimitri Baklavopoulos. And this guy was in his mid-20s. He worked out constantly. He was a handsome guy. Man, the women loved this dude. They thought he was the most handsome guy around. He could not get a date. Women would go talk to him, and within about 45 seconds, they would just leave. Why? Here's a conversation I had with him. Hey, Dimitri, how you doing? Good. How was your weekend? Uh, can't complain. What did you do this weekend? Uh, I just hung out. I heard that your dad owned a plumbing company and that you worked in plumbing for a while. Yeah, yeah. What kind of plumbing did you do? Residential, commercial? All kinds. My brother's a plumber up in Seattle. Oh, what are you gonna do this weekend, Dimitri? Hard to say. What do you do for work? I work in, says the type of work he does. Very flat, very muted. Do you enjoy it? It's a job. Okay. Notice how many opportunities there for him. I mean, it was just surreal. This is every conversation with him. And he was a good-looking guy. He was 6'1". Guy had chiseled muscles, chiseled jawline, looked like a meme. Could not get a date with a chick. Well, there you go. That's why. Notice how many opportunities he had to make it personal, to make a connection. Hi, Dimitri. How are you? There was no, I'm good. How are you doing, Danny? What do you do? How was your weekend, Dimitri? It was pretty good, just relaxed a bit, went to the gym, talked to my parents. What about yours, Danny? How was your weekend? What did you do? Oh, did a live stream this morning and, then I was, worked on a script for a bit for a Patreon video I'm doing. And, then I went and, did some work on my garden. I have a peach tree and, pomegranate trees and da da. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, you were a plumber for a while? Yeah, I was. Yeah. Have you done plumbing, Danny? Yeah, I've done I mean, all these options, all these opportunities to connect, to show warmth. That's the thing, to show warmth. Just let them go. You guys lack etiquette. And etiquette is important because etiquette is a way that people connect with one another. And it's part of the austere, lacking warmth, not connecting. So this one was told to me by a guy at church, and I've seen this again and again. You open a door for two like Gen Z types. They walk right through. There's no like turning, making eye contact, going, thank you, and walking through. It's just, if anything, it's just sort of muted, like, thank you. Just walk through. There's no connection. You guys do whatever it takes to avoid connections. And then you wonder why you can't get dates. Dates are about connections. I can't tell you how many times I've seen some elderly guy at church struggling to pull a garbage bag full of garbage out of a can while a table of Gen Z just sit there staring at one another quietly while one of them, apparently the most courageous one, sort of mumbles something that the others can barely hear. Like, get up, go do like connect with people. Go, oh, Mr. Baklavopoulos needs help. Here, let me go help him with that. Now, I have noticed that when Mr. Baklavopoulos or Mr. Souvlakidis, when he comes and goes, "Hey, I need you guys to help me take out the garbage cans," you guys help right away, and you work very hard when you're micromanaged, but you don't show initiative. You don't show initiative because you guys are not assertive, is the issue. This is the one that just absolutely sets me off. You don't make eye contact when you talk. When I do talk to you guys, it turns into you, kind of like you'll make contact for a minute and then you kind of nervously like looking around. The boys, you guys look at the floor constantly. You don't look off into the distance or above someone. You look down at the floor. I mean, if there's anything that just says I'm a complete wimp, it's staring down at the floor nervously. It says you don't want confrontation. That's what the body language of that is you don't want confrontation. And I'm not that scary. Maybe I am, I don't know, but I shouldn't be that scary because I regularly meet Gen Z guys who don't do that. So I know it's not every single one of you. It's a general tendency. You guys do not communicate. You live in the age of communication, you don't know how to communicate. So we used to have this donut shop down the street called Gabby Donuts. It's phenomenal. This gigantic Korean donut shop. Oh my gosh. Gigantic donuts, massive, phenomenal. Best ever, tremendous. We all agree. And it was staffed by a bunch of Gen Z girls, which I mean, like if you want to know what frustrating is, try and interact with Gen Z women. Because they're horrible communicators, they're insanely entitled, and they're insanely entitled despite looking a decade older than they really are. Just saying. So we order some donuts, and it's like, okay, I'll take like, 2 of the cream ones. I'll take the creme brulee his creme brulee donut. Oh my, is incredible. Incredible. I don't think I mean, I've never wanted to mourn the closure of a restaurant. When that place closed, I mourned for about 20 minutes until I found another donut shop. But they had this, I'm like, okay, I want 2 cream donuts. I want the strawberry cream one for my daughter, the creme brulee one, and, let's see what else you got here. Oh, you got it. Oh, whoa, you got like this Samoa donut? And the girl's like, uh, yeah, we have a Samoan donut." I'm like, "All right, yeah, so those 5." The tray comes out and there's 3 donuts on it. So, where's the creme brulee donut? Where's the Samoa donut? And the girl just stands there. Or sorry, the tray comes out, she sets it down, leaves. My wife goes, "Where are the other 2 donuts?" Coffee comes, "Where are they?" Okay. So I go, "Hey, we're missing the Samoa donut and the, creme brulee one." And the girl goes and she stands, I'll never forget this, she has, like, her nails all done up and her hands in front of her, and she's like, "Oh, w we ran out of those donuts after you ordered." I'm like, "Okay, but you could have told me that when you brought the initial donuts 5 minutes ago." And just stares at me blankly with her mouth hanging open. I mean, this is customer service experiences with you guys. Now, of course, there was one girl, she's really tall. She had decent customer service, but I mean, you used to be able to find people, like you'd have a whole shop full of those girls. That's why they had a shop girl, because she was friendly, she was bubbly, she was happy. Guys, just to get they would keep buying things just to be in the presence of this bubbly, beautiful girl for a while, right? It was a sales tactic. Okay. Now, the issue with Gen Z men specifically, because that was both of you, but the issue with Gen Z men specifically is you have had extremely weak father figures, extremely weak. Most Gen X men I know, it's like, "Hey, I'm not Mr. Sellon. Mr. Sellon's my dad. I'm just your friend." It's like, no. If you're under 18, I'm Mr. Sellon. And if you're a female and you're under 25, I'm Mr. Sellon. It used to be 28, but my wife told me I was being too harsh. If you're male, you're under 18, I'm Mr. Sellon. Okay. You have been through this gynocentric schooling system that punishes male traits in males and rewards them in females. And then it rewards female traits in boys. You were continually told to make mommy happy, and mommy is any woman in your life. It's your mother, it's your older sister, it's your kindergarten teacher, your 5th grade teacher, your 11th grade science teacher. It's every woman you interact with. That's mommy. You were told, if you just make mommy happy, be a good boy, you'll get what you want. The problem is women despise men like that. They absolutely despise men like that. You have way too much screen time. The best thing you guys could do is delete every single social media app you have. And I realize it's hypocritical because I have a lot of social media, yeah, but I also know how to use it. I know how to use it largely without being addicted to it, though X is hard. I know a surprisingly large number of Gen Z who just delete all of their social media. And within 1 month of them doing it, the difference is like, whoa. Whoa. Okay, you can see it. It doesn't fix everything, but it gets you on the right road. You're actually interacting with other people. Your guys' problem, though, is you're hanging out with a bunch of people who are on social media constantly. So it's sort of like when you have a child growing up around mentally handicapped children, that healthy child starts to mimic mentally handicapped children, even though they aren't mentally handicapped. Okay? Women want a man who is assertive, who is dominant, and he has ambitions that he is putting into action. So if he actually wants to go homesteading, he's getting a job, he's learning about farming, he's looking at pieces of land. He's not just saying he wants to homestead. By the way, I don't think homesteading is a good idea. I don't think it's very realistic. You have to have a lot of lots of skills to do it. You guys don't have that assertiveness. You don't have that dominance. You don't have that putting my ambitions into or my plans into action. Um, you guys come off as extremely timid. You come off as desiring to avoid confrontation. You guys come off as lost. And if you want to know what women find incredibly unsexy, it's a timid man who wants to avoid confrontation at all costs. You're hearing this from a guy. I have 5 sisters. I have 3 sisters and 2 stepsisters. I have 2 daughters. I have a wife. I have dated successfully. I've been married for 15 years. I'm telling you, you gotta be assertive, you gotta be dominant. This doesn't mean arrogant. This doesn't mean screaming and telling women, "Get back in the kitchen," no. This means that you know where your boundaries are and you're not backing down. Okay, you might change your boundaries based on reasonable argument, but you're like, "No, this is a line in the sand." You don't need to say it, act it, be it. You guys don't have that, and it's very, very sad. The other thing is you guys have such like, the people who wrote in continually pointed out that at coffee hour, the single guys sit with the single guys, and the single girls sit with the single girls. You guys don't mix at all. I have tried to introduce Gen Z guys to women, and it just turns into like watching 2 stray cats meet. They just sort of stare at each other from across the room. You guys have such little contact with women that you don't know how to interact with women. The only way you learn how to interact with women is interacting with women. And your issue isn't that you don't know how to talk to girls, it's that you guys just don't know how to talk. You don't know how to have conversations. The issue with Gen Z women, and again, this is stuff that I've noticed. We're not even at the survey yet. Okay. Biggest issue with Gen Z women, daddy issues on steroids. Extremely weak father figures. Extremely weak. It is just daddy issues to the 10th power. Way too much screen time, way too much social media. The women don't have social skills either. They don't have conversation skills. The women go, "Well, the guys don't know how to have a conversation." And I'm just like, "Okay, it took me several minutes to get that out of you, and you stuttered when you said it. So you don't have it either." You're uptight with a victim mentality. You're unenjoyable people to be around. Not all, but most of the Gen Z women I've interacted with, it's not a rewarding experience. It's not an enjoyable experience. It's pulling teeth. A lot of the Gen Z guys I've met, I've had a lot of fun talking to, a lot of them. And you guys know who you are. If I hang out with you at church and talk with you, you're one of the cool ones. You go, and again, this is about Gen Z women. You go back and forth between, on the one hand, being ultra neurotic and put out about whatever. And then, well, I should say, so you go back and forth between being ultra neurotic about something on the one hand, all the way to completely put out about whatever it is you're doing on the other. You're like a ping pong ball between those 2. One of the things that men find really attractive about women is a certain elegance, a certain charm, a way a woman holds herself, the way she talks, the way she moves her hands when she speaks, the way she does her hair, the way she moves her head, the way she smiles. And I've just noticed that Gen Z women are kind of mechanical in how they move. I don't know if it's the anxiety, it's sort of rushed. I mean, some of you I've seen moving around, you remind me of 3CPO from Star Wars. Just is very like, I'm going to it's odd. And you're also extremely entitled. I mean, off the charts entitlement. And I don't know if that's because you've gotten a bunch of dudes in your DMs all the time telling you that you're the most beautiful woman in the world or what, but chances are a lot of those guys are from the subcontinent. Okay. All right, I'm gonna take some super chats now. Let me look through here. Okay. Make the screen larger. Beautiful, wonderful. I love big letters. Okay. I don't know if there's a way that I can get through. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. And thank you guys for tuning in today. I'm not seeing any cues at the beginning of sentences, so these Ubi man, Ubi man using facts, reason, logic, and data to add to the discourse. That's funny. Um, okay, we're gonna keep going. I thought I saw some super chats in here. Okay. Pufferfish, super sticker. I love Pufferfish. He's a great guy. He should be the piranha. Okay. Pufferfish, pay your fee to be here. No, Cleve is a good guy. Cleve's a good guy. He doesn't have to. He's done great in promoting and sharing content that I've created, so he doesn't have to pay a fee. Okay. Cleve, welcome in, buddy. Okay, Cleve. Send Ubi super chats ASAP. Cleve, you're a great guy. I had a really great time hanging out with him. Cleve he's about to get his purple belt in jiu-jitsu. I mean, that's like 6, 7 years of jiu-jitsu right there. He's a dude who knows what he's doing. He is also a roller coaster enthusiast. I chickened out of several roller coasters. I admit it. I can do simple ones. Like I can do like one with a loop, but when it starts like corkscrewing, like I'm just like even watching the video, I get nauseous. But he's a roller coaster enthusiast and cool guy to hang out with. Porphyry Alan, dating data datum. That's a Latin joke because you have to learn the 4 forms of the verb. Oh boy, that's a good one. All right. Pay the Ubi tax, folks. God, the way it's going, I hope we don't have to have some Ubi going on, some universal basic income. No, Katherine. Katherine, she's an HR girl. Yeah, an HR recruiter. It all makes sense. Yeah, no kidding. I'm gonna get to the Zoom call her and I had, how this all happened. Um, I'm baptized at 30. I was baptized at 30. I'm 38 now. I'm still single. There are no single men in my church. Well, there's other churches around you. You need to look in the mirror and ask yourself, well, why am I mean, in a religion that's bringing in single guys at like 10 or 15 times the rate of single chicks, you got to look in the mirror and go, well, hold on, why am I not getting picked up quickly? What's wrong with me? And I find this with I remember listening to a podcast with I used to listen to a lot of Chris Williams' Modern Wisdom. I haven't listened to it in years. I don't know if it's good or not. But he had an evolutionary psychologist come on, a dude who created a lot of the data that got used by the red pill movement. And this guy was not actually into the red pill movement at all. And he pointed out, he and his wife are both evolutionary psychologists. He said, if you look at the dating books for men, it's like a Jordan Peterson talk. It's clean your room, get in shape, dress nicer, groom yourself, look good, learn conversation skills, all these things. Whereas when you look at the dating books for women, it's just double down on the stuff that hasn't worked for the last 10 years, and they'll realize the diva you are. It's their problem that they don't realize what a queen you are. And he goes, "Well, of course these women are agitated. They keep being told, like, keep failing, keep failing." And in a lot of ways, I'm not surprised. Women love to sabotage one another. They love to sabotage one another. So, I got mine, now I'm gonna sabotage other women. That's a real thing. And women who deny that are liars. And men who deny that are simps. Okay. Ubi versus Cleve in the dojo, he'd win. He's better than me. I am a white belt. I am a white belt in jiu-jitsu. I've been doing judo for about a year now, really enjoying it. I don't want dozens of Catherines working over me. Yeah, no kidding. I mean, that's corporate life. Corporate life is working for Catherine. Um, I mean, that article that you got, I mean, that's your performance review when you get hauled into Catherine's office. This is why you got to get into the trades. By the way, dudes, go look at that video I did, 6 tips for getting a job in the trades. Phenomenal video. Several people already have written in and said, I got my first job in the trades using these tips. I put it out there for free for you guys. Super nice of me, I know. But already several people have said it worked. One guy who I gave that advice to long before I made the video, gonna have him on the show. He's a guy I go to church with. He's gonna talk about how he got his first job, and it's literally the roadmap I gave. It's literally that roadmap. He is loving. He's coming up on 6 months, and he is um, he's really enjoying plumbing. Really enjoying it. I am Gen X, and we've been very deliberate in child rearing. Yeah, well, there you go. You're the only way to rescue our children. Yeah, no kidding. Okay. Obi understands how we're slightly retarded. Yeah, I remember I had this apprentice named Alex. He had a thick mustache. We called him Mustachioed Alex to differentiate him from schizophrenic Alex, who was actually schizophrenic. But he recalls the first day I had him. He goes, he's about to be a journeyman. He goes, I remember the first day you said, when I told you I had no experience at all, um, you said, "That's okay. I've worked with plenty of retards like you, so I know not to expect much." And I don't remember saying that, but it does sound like, I mean, the R word is in my repertoire. Okay, let's see what else we got here. You were doom scrolling? I was doom scrolling. I called you out, huh? Well, the Lord forgives. Just don't doom scroll anymore. I mean, seriously, you should go to confession for doom scrolling. It's minutes of your life you'll never ever get back. Catherine is probably watching. Hi, Catherine. How you doing? My wife left me because I'm a catechumen. She's been gone 7 weeks. Might divorce me. That's really unfortunate. I'm very sorry to hear that. It's very sad. Ubi describes our behaviors. I've been around you guys. This is you guys. 36% of women have mental illness. That's depends on how depends on how you define mental illness. I mean, I'd say 100% some days, but yeah, 36% of women have actually died like real mental illness, not just emotionally, volatile. That's really sad. All right, Porphyry Alon. Micromanaged focus super chat supervised. I love it. Porphyry, this is the best super chat this is the best chat we've had. Pufferfish is making it happen. Okay, get to the rest of the super chats. And oh, I saw a Q in there. Oh, shoot, how do I do this? Excuse me. Q. I had my oldest at 18. He's 4. Good job. He's 14 now and received into the church with myself, my wife, and 4 children. He lives with his mom and is in public school, attends liturgy on his own. Any advice on dating? I mean, be the man who you think your son needs to be to date. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I have daughters, and I constantly tell myself this. I need to be the man whom I want my daughters to marry. I can't go a whoring and then be like, "Oh, why are my daughters going for guys who are total thoughts?" No. I can't be due to neglect some and then be like, "Oh, why does my daughter have daddy issues at the, living or at the yin yang?" No. I gotta spend time with them. Yesterday I took my daughter out to lunch, spent, 2 hours with her, okay? And it's really easy. These kids, they get on these tablets, they get on their phones, they get in Minecraft. He's like, "Look, I'm taking it away. You're hanging out with me. I'm gonna make you hang out with me. I know you don't want to hang out with me, but I will enforce hanging out with me." That's what you got to do with your kids. When your son is 18, I mean, I'd say the best thing you can do as a guy is that you don't need to date until you're looking at marriage. I mean, dating at 16 is pretty pointless. I mean, you're not ready to get married at 16. Date at 16 if you think you're gonna get married at like 17 and a half, 18. That's probably not gonna happen with most of the guys out here. Although I think it should be the case with women. Um, but you have to have guys who are responsible, who are established. Um, the best thing you can do is work on yourself, be an interesting guy. You can have a Lamborghini and be a complete, like, you're just a dead fish for personality. I've seen it so many times. I don't even know where to begin. You do these jobs for these super rich dudes, and you're just like, this guy's the most boring person in the world. And, sure, he has a wife who's all Botoxed out and whatever, but she has no interest in him. And I know because she's hitting on me. Oh, but he has a Lambo. Oh, wait, he has a Corvette. Oh, he has all the nice. Yeah, he's also a guy who totally neglects her. He has no interest in her. I mean, when your wife is hitting on the pool boy or the 42-year-old electrician, there's a problem. Okay. You're not tending to her. Okay. Jordan Toe Jericho. As an LDS convert to Orthodoxy, I found it difficult being raised with marriage as a requirement for salvation. Yeah, I mean, it's we're gonna get into things that'll help you guys out. The good thing about being raised LDS is that you learn to be very like professional and like businessmanly. You learn to think of the world in very pragmatic ways. I mean, there's no like philosophy majors at an LDS stake. It's finance. It's going to trade school. A lot. It's getting things that actually you know uh that get you jobs. Okay, $5. Supporting. Pray for us, fellow Orthodox. Indeed, Fredo. Let's pray for us all. Thank you for your support too, by the way. Man, there's a lot of. I'm trying to. Is there a way to just sort this out and find only the super chats? I'm in StreamYard right now. Still relatively new to this, so I. Okay, here we go. Ubi, could it be Dimitri wasn't engaged with a sub-6 chop chopped? I have no clue what this means. Absolutely no clue what this means. With a sub-6 chop head. Chopped cell. Um, I don't know what a sub-6 a chopped cell means, like a incel who's in really great shape, I think. I'm not really sure. I confess I don't understand the question. Okay, I've gone through here. TUI Gohan, thank you so much. First time meeting him, he tried judo throwing me. Very scary guy. Just kidding. It's probably an Uchimata. That's my favorite throw. Uchimata is a good one. You can do it no gi by reaching under the arm. You don't have to grab the cuff. The problem most people make with it is they don't turn while pulling the arm, so you don't get them to spin as they fall. A move I used to try quite a bit was a Tayatoshi, but I ended up hurting someone's. Well, he already had issues with the shin, but he's okay now. But I am at. Thank you so much. Makes sense. $20. Thank you. I appreciate that tremendously. I am a Gen Z and don't feel like this. I travel and go out when I can. I love engaging with others, but whenever I'm talking with other women, God, I could tell this was. I have to be the one keeping the conversation going. Am I cooked? Okay. This I could tell by the writing styles, like this is a woman writing this. Okay. And the other thing that gave it away that's a woman is that immediately she takes issue with a generalization. It's like, I have anecdotal evidence. So your statistical analysis is false. But thank you so much. Makes sense. You are an analogy. Okay. Or you are what's the word I'm looking for? Not an analogy. You are an exception. Okay. And congratulations on being an exception. And you travel. This is wonderful. It's phenomenal for you. And you love engaging with others. Phenomenal. And yeah, you do have to be the one keeping the conversation going. The reason why so many Gen Z come to me is that I keep conversations going. I grew up with my mother's very loquacious. My father was also a very talkative fellow. So I grew up in a house of people who could have conversations. Further in my job, I have to be able to relate to people. And, I've had conversations like when I was in Syria, I studied Arabic for a while. There was an Islamic school that opened up their Islamic courses to um, non-Muslims, and it was $200 for 2 months of 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, Arabic immersion. It was phenomenal. I can guarantee you that a significant number of these guys went on to join ISIS. Okay? I was still able to talk to these guys. I have talked to Israeli settlers. It doesn't mean I have deep conversations with people, no, but I can still talk to people and have interactions with them, even when I think that they should probably be pushed off of a cliff. A lot of people I've talked to, society would be better if these people were just not breathing. Okay. You mix up cause effect. Gen Z men are not rejected because they're awkward. They're awkward because they experience rejection. How do you explain the looks dating chart, men versus women? Because women don't date based on looks. They date based on how they feel about you. The other thing is that you guys were rejected by your parents, and that's why you are just so awkward. I was rejected by women again and again and again until I learned how to talk to women. When I was in university, I was in Seattle. That's where I grew up. Seattle is the least friendly place you can possibly imagine. I mean, the least friendly place you can possibly imagine. It was rated the worst place in the country to be single if you wanted to get into a relationship. Not even married. If you want to get into a relationship, Seattle's the worst city in the country. It's the worst place to be during the pandemic. You can get dates. I could get dates there relatively easily. It became a game for me to just ask women out, take them to coffee, go see who else I could ask out. The secret to it is just not caring. That's really important. The moment when women tell that you really care, that's when they go, I gotcha. I'm the one in control. Whereas when they can tell that you're just like, if she says no, great. If she says yes, it's phenomenal. Um, you know, that's when suddenly they're drawn to you. Oh, he doesn't need me. Okay, this is really important. I turned into a game asking women out to coffee, and I got to a point where most of them were saying yes. And that was just like barely knew these women. Okay. Going down. Okay, we got this one here. All right, I'm only 34 and I used to get disciplined for not calling an elder sir. Good. Remember that if you're under 18 and a male, I'm Mr. Salen. If you're female and you're under 25, I'm also Mr. Salen. Okay. Can you be my dad? I'll be your mentor. First thing, get into the dojo. But I don't want to get choked. It's good for you. It's good for you. I was told to send a super chat. Thank you for that super chat, as well as the last one. Can you be my dad? That is phenomenal. That is hilarious. Okay, how do we balance wanting Orthodox marriage and knowing that we aren't holy enough to provide an Orthodox relationship? By becoming holier people. It's that simple. I mean, my wife and I are roughly the same age. She's a couple years older than me. She looks better than me though, a lot better. But I think that in general in American society, it's a lot better if older men marry younger women. And we're going to get into the results of the survey because Catherine took a shot across the bow at that. She's like, it didn't work out. And I read that comment and I thought, this is some chick who has hit the wall and she is resentful as all hell that guys her age are looking at the 19 and 20-year-olds. That's what that is. And the survey that I put out, the survey that's not a survey, you'd be really surprised at just who was recommending that older men date younger women. So that's what I would say. First off, one, be a holy person, right? Two, go for someone who's younger than you because you're established at that point. You're more established. Okay. Currently working, so I've missed everything up to this point. I demand to restart. Okay, guys. All right, hold on. Let me go back to page 1 in this. All right. God, why'd you give me the spectrum? Always, Christ is ascended. I'm not sure what that means. Why'd you give me the spectrum? Oh God, why did you give me the spectrum? Like, why did God make you? You're not autistic. You're not. You have pseudo autism. My brother calls it that, pseudo autism. It's these like guys who they have one sibling, maybe a brother or no siblings. They spend a lot of time on screens. It creates this effect that's like autism. And stop identifying yourselves as autistic. You're not autistic. You're not. You're not autistic. You're just incapable. You're just coddled, is what you are. Man, we got a lot of active people. This is phenomenal. Ooh, we got. I'm not doom scrolling. I'm real maxing. Oh boy. Thank you for that super chat, by the way. Brock McMullen, QQQQA, as it, or oh, QQQ, as, thank you for doing the triple Q thing. If I don't see that triple Q, I just assume that it's a comment for someone else. As a Gen Z inquirer with a girlfriend who I would love to marry, any advice you give as far as catechism or anything in other general processes? You make sure that she likes a community, because for women, what really matters is not that, essence energies, hypostatic versus energetic, filioque. They're not into that stuff. Do you know women who are really into apologetics? I'll tell you who's into apologetics was Catherine. She's really into it, loved it. Or at least she said. Uh, if you find a woman who's into apologetics, it's probably a bad sign. Women are drawn in by the community. They're drawn in by the change that that community makes in you as a man. They're not drawn in by the fact that you know the difference between, that you can describe St. Maximus's view of the blameworthy passions. They don't care. They really don't care. They just look at you and they're just like, this guy's no life. They're drawn in by the fact that you show that you've overcome the passions. They're drawn in by the fact that you show actual virtue. They're drawn in by the fact that you have a community that loves you and you love them. They're drawn in by the fact that you are on top of that, because we hear virtuous and we think this like very meek, like, oh Lord, have mercy. Oh, things aren't right. No, it's virtuous in the sense that you overcome, lust. It's virtuous in the sense that you show compassion to people around you. It's virtuous in the sense that you have righteous indignation over situations in which there's injustice. They still want an assertive, dominant man who puts his plans into action, shows ambition. Religious women, if there's one thing we've learned from Chud the Builder, it's that religious women still want a dude who can talk, is assertive, shows confidence, and is dominant. That's what women want. Religion doesn't religion does not erase biology. And by the way, any priest is telling you you need to be this like meek little dude who, just can't like make decisions on your own, that you need to find a priest who's actually going to mentor you. And that's a problem I find with a lot of the clergy, is they're more interested in turning their male parishioners, Gen Z parishioners, they're more interested in turning you guys into quiet people in the pews who will not challenge the status quo. In, they're more interested in turning you into that than turning you into actual men who can go out and find a woman, who can go out and conquer the world. They're more interested in just some of them are a lot like a mother. So just be a good boy in the pews. Just be a good boy in the pews and don't be disruptive. I found that attitude among a minority of clergy. All right, thank you for this $5. Our mission coordinates dances. Common practice for kids to marry here is 18 to 22. Wonderful. Parish is 150 people. Is this happening at other parishes? No, not ones that I've seen. The clergy are woefully prepared for this because they're all living in the 1980s. It's really only younger clergy that have a clue of what's going on, and the younger clergy are sounding the alarm bells left and right. The older ones are like, well, if you just get a job, driving for Uber, you can be the president of Uber someday. I mean, you get a priest who's over, like, say, 55, they can't relate to what's going on. They're still living in like 1990. Uh, Yeah, yes, 36% women are mentally ill, the rest haven't been diagnosed yet. Cold. Thank you for that super chat. Okay. Another one here. Ubi, recently divorced. We converted together. Her choice to leave. My second divorce, her third. I'm 43. No idea what to do now. The answer is don't marry divorced women. It's usually not a good idea. I have a friend who just married a chick who's divorced, married the reformed party girl type, and he's in all sorts of legal hot water now. There's some women who should just be left single. There's some guys who should be left single as well. But the only thing you can do at this point is just take your life into your hands and work on yourself for the sake of yourself. Whatever you have really wanted to start doing it. Um, I get this all the time. Like, well, you're too old to do this. You're too old to look. I started judo at 41. Judo is the roughest sport. Well, actually, wrestling's a little rougher, but when you're getting thrown through the air, you can't. I'm doing it. We have a bunch of metal in your leg. Yeah, and I'm doing it. I'm doing jujitsu too. Don't let people browbeat you into thinking that like it's too late to. I mean, sure, I'm not going hard and heavy against a 28-year-old, but I can have fun. Okay. Thank you so much. Just started following Ubi on X. Very solid guy. Thank you. Good man. Appreciate that super chat. And let's try and get through these quickly. Hey, Ubi, my experience as a 22-year-old hung out with an EO girl from Ukraine. She thought abortion was okay, some circumstances. You're going to hear that stuff from women constantly because women are intrinsically left wing. This is why historically cultures have realized that they cannot be allowed to hold office, they cannot be allowed to rule societies. Most cultures realize it was a very select group of men who should be allowed to rule society. They were smart enough to do that. We opened Pandora's box. We didn't let Pandora do it. No, we opened it. Absolute disaster. But with women, just kind of, I find a lot of time with women when they talk, I just go, oh, okay. Oh, wow. I hadn't thought about that. Huh. Most of the time, they're just shit testing you. They're really just looking for a situation wherein, they want to feel, they want to see how you're going to react. But you get a woman like that, and you just go, no, it's not okay. After a while, you no, it's not okay. Or maybe right away, just, when she says that, just tell her like, no, I don't believe that's not okay. I said, well, why not? Just because it's a human being. Eventually she'll come around. But with so much of what women say, they're just shit testing you. And the response should be, oh, okay. You're not agreeing. You're just acknowledging you've heard it. So much of what women say is not meant to be responded to. Ubi, I remember my little brother asking me how to ask out women and not get rejected. I told him you need to get rejected and get it over with and learn from it. Dude, I've been told no by more prospective employers, women, and bartenders than I can count. I mean, you get over it. You get over it. It's gonna be okay. Um, Actually, truth be told, I've only been cut off once, and it was actually an accident. Um, I had told her I didn't want any more to drink, and she goes, "Okay." And the next bartender came in, and I held up the glass, like, "Have another glass of water." She goes, "You be cut off." I go, "Oh." But shot down by so many women. So many women. It's okay, you get over it. The trick, honestly, you have better luck with beautiful women than you do with ugly women, and the reason is that, the the reason is that most guys look at a girl as an 8 or 9 or a 10, and they go, "Well, I could never get that girl." And so then they just go straight to the mids. So there's this mid inflation. There's, the 4s, the 5s, the 3s. They have this they're being overwhelmed because guys think they're accessible. But if you go up to a really beautiful woman, one, if she shoots you down, which they probably will, but if she shoots you down, well, you got rejected by a beautiful woman. What did you think was going to happen, right? When I go spar against a brown belt and I get beaten, hey, he's a brown belt. Okay, sure. But you try and you become better and better and better. And once you've been rejected again and again, you're just like, yeah, oh, hold on, time to go get rejected for the third time. You just get over it and you stop caring. And then women go, oh, this guy's interesting. Okay, Steve M here. I remember back in the day, you encouraged me as a relationship was falling apart to say I had good teeth and would be all right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. You do have really, really nice teeth. You have a great beard. You got great hair. And Steve, congratulations. He's landed a good woman. And they're looking to get married. Congratulations, Steve, many years. Okay. Celeste Celestium Umer. I don't know how to pronounce that. Thank you for a super chat. Charisma during Pascha. My fiance is converting from Catholicism. It's not easy to be in a relationship, but it's worth it to be with him. Praying for everything. That is so sweet. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's the right attitude to have. I mean, marriages are tough. And being married to someone like me is really tough. And you have to start to look at it as though it's making you a better person. This is what you need to do. It's like getting choked in the dojo. It is not fun to get choked. It really is not fun. And it's not fun to have some 230-pound blue belt on top of you sweating all over you as you get your knee right on your diaphragm and tries to gas you out because tries to get you gas out because you can't breathe. But you know what? It makes you tougher, makes you stronger. Okay, I'm gonna take this one last super chat here, which I saw. Where was it? It was, oh jeez. Okay. Here we go. Thank you so much. 20 bucks. D Young. Hey Ubi, 22-year-old planning to marry my girlfriend 2 weeks after we were baptized in September. I brought her to the church from another denom after a few months. What do you think of the strategy? Sorry if you covered already. I'm going to get to the strategy. I mean, I used it, you know. If you're a guy who women like, women will do whatever to be with you if you're a high value guy. What does it mean to be a high value guy? We'll get into that. Okay. Ubi, when I lived in Portland, Oregon, God, I'm so sorry. I'm from Seattle. I made sure not to date any women because because it might be a man. Better safe than sorry. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. Oof. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So here we go. Thank you for a super chats. We're gonna be taking more in a bit. We are only 2 pages into 9 pages of this outline. We're gonna be going a while here, okay? So the messages that I'm gonna ignore the chat for a bit here. Okay. Now, the messages that came in were fascinating because after about 50 messages, you could tell almost exactly which age group, which sex, and the marital status simply by the content they were adding in. Even if you cut out any identifying features, if you ask them what they saw the problems as, excuse me, if you ask them what do you see the problems as, it was like without question. Once you removed identifying features, you could figure out exactly which of these groups it was in. Okay. And another thing, we didn't have any single females right in. They were all engaged and married. Okay. One thing that everyone agreed on was a horrible ratio of way too many dudes to one chick. It's a sausage fest. I get it. So we're not even going to address that because everyone mentioned that. The ratio is awful. Everyone. It was just it's a given. So if you go, well, also the ratio, what? Yeah, I know. We all agree on that. Okay. So single men, whether they are Gen X, whether they are millennial, whether they are Gen Z, almost all cited the following as major problems. One, lack of career opportunities. Yeah, if you don't have a good job, you're not going to get a woman. Women look at you and they go, well, how is he going to support me and my brood, my future brood? You got to have it. I have a friend who I begged him to get a job for years. Oh, no, I don't need, I can stay in this low paying job. Marriage exploded, got divorced. Every excuse under the sun not to be a man like God demands you be a man. Support your family. So, lack of career opportunities. Two, the other thing that single men, regardless of Gen X, Millennial, or Gen Z, said, the women are ultra entitled and have way too much sexual experience. The women have really high body counts. Yeah. And you're going to see this as more Gen Z girls convert in. There's going to be a lot of chicks taking St. Mary Magdalene, St. Mary of Egypt as patron saints. Fathers, Gen X fathers absolutely failed their daughters in every single way. Every single way. The other thing, the women are hardcore feminists. They don't want to settle down until they've hit the wall. Guys keep pointing that out. Okay. The other thing, the women ghost you and the women are absolutely nuts. Okay. Those are the things that the guys point out. Okay. Um, it's really interesting what the single guys don't point out that everyone else did that I have noticed. Okay. This is a single guys. You ask the single guys, the women are a bunch of horoscopes. There's just no hope for them. They're not gonna marry the reformed horoscope. They don't think they should. Okay. You don't want to, don't. I don't think anyone should be forced to do that. I think that doing that is a really risky move, even on a very good day, an extremely risky move. I've known guys who have done it. It takes a personality. It's a personality I don't have. Okay. One thing that a lot of guys said, and some of the single guys who wrote in had really interesting stories. They said there's a dearth, like a shortage of good women. And some of these guys said that the female catechumens and even some of the cradle Orthodox women tried to bribe these guys with easy sex, like like first, second, third date kind of stuff. And these women were from late teens to early 40s. One guy said he'd never been chased so hard by women as when he was in the church. And these guys didn't say why, but I ran this by a friend. And he had the same theory that I have, and that is that when women think that sex seals a relationship, they don't realize that giving a man sex is like when a simp gives him a little, handbag. Well, when that simp gives you a handbag, that doesn't mean that he's sealing a relationship with you. No. As a woman, you gotta understand this, that when you offer a guy sex, it's not in a marriage. When you just go, "Yeah, sure, try and seal the deal with sex," is how women think. When you offer that, you are no different than that simp offering that guy a handbag. Or sorry, you're no different than that simp offering that woman a new handbag. That's all. That's it. "Oh, this new handbag." He has a picture of you, had a few, whatever. Moves on, finds the next one, okay? So, I think what happens, though, is that these women, they finally find a guy they're attracted to, and they think that if they can pressure him into sex, and because he's religious, he'll then feel obligated to marry her. They think he's religious, he's a good guy. If he sleeps with me, he's gonna feel obligated to marry me. I'm gonna seal this deal now. I think, get him before, tie him in, make him feel obligated, get him with guilt before he can realize I'm a complete nutcase. And guess what? It doesn't work. It does not work. I mean, if you're a woman, that no hymen, no diamond. That should be your motto. And I've heard about the situation these guys described with the women trying to seal the deal with sex. I've heard about numerous times, and it's especially common with women who have high body counts or they feel like they're running out of time to start having children. I don't think you're really getting this from the young girl who's keeping herself pure. These women are really eager to clinch the deal. And the guys, interestingly enough, The guys all said it was a huge turnoff. Men don't like easy women. They don't respect them. They like what they get from easy women. They don't respect easy women. They don't look at easy women as marriage material. And I know people go, well, St. Mary Magdalene, St. Mary of Egypt, Jesus forgave the adulterous woman. Yeah, he didn't say she was marriage material. Okay, there were actually legit horror stories about dating, such I got permission from these guys to, if I recall correctly, this one, to tell the story by removing details. I'm just gonna give summaries. One guy drove 4 hours to meet a woman who had been highly recommended by other women. And by the way, like you gotta be careful about women recommending other women because they sort of women love sabotaging other women. And I don't know why they do this, but they'll introduce you like the homeliest women. But this guy said that these women in the picture go, "Oh, this girl, she's so beautiful. Everyone loves her. She's amazing." So this guy drives 4 hours out and he goes, if it doesn't work out, I'll go, on they had like a sort of they made it a side excursion for him and a friend for this other thing they wanted to do. I don't recall if it was like a concert or visiting a national park or something. They go to meet this chick. She shows up late, which is it's kind of standard. I'm late quite a bit. And he realizes when she shows up, she has an actual mustache and she's absolutely insane. She demanded that he show up to liturgy with her and talk to the priest before he talked to her to get permission to even take her out to lunch. Um, another guy dated a woman who's a catechumen, who she'd been a catechumen for 4 years. She screamed at multiple clergy because she insisted on following the carnivore diet. They told her you don't need to. She was eating, uh, yeah, a lot of meat, would only eat meat. I'm not sure if this is a funny comment or not, but there was something about how she had to eat 4 lamb chops a night. Um, Other situations, guys were dating women who were beautiful, but they had really high body counts and mental health disorders, women who were serial daters within the parish. If there's a super beautiful woman in your parish and she's been there for years and she's not married yet, there's a very good reason for that. There's a very, very good reason for that with the high ratio of guys. And this gets into Catherine's survey. Who was she surveying? Women who had not dated successfully. Well, when there's such a high ratio of guys to women, why are these women still single? If you find someone unemployed and every single job on this block has "we're hiring" signs up, guess why that person is unemployed? Another guy ignored his priest and insisted on marrying a bipolar single mom with borderline personality disorder and a body count of dozens and dozens. That landed him in legal hot water. People say, well, the priests aren't doing anything about it. A lot of these priests are telling these guys, like, don't marry these chicks. Don't. When I went to Father Joseph Lucas in this amazing priest, I did a show with him. You can look it up, Apostolic Faith. Yeah, Apostolic Tradition, sorry. I tell the story of why I converted. Great show, amazing show. Father Joseph Lucas, amazing man, and amazing priest. The guys at his parish were great. And we were chatting about marriage, and he told me when we were out to lunch in between shows, he said, these guys never listen. When you tell them, like, do not marry that girl, they never listen to you. It's like, yeah. I mean, I had a friend in high school who married a chick who was famous for, I don't know how to say this without getting demonetized or scandalizing people. She was famous for using her mouth. I'll put it that way. And everyone told him, do not marry this girl. And he married her. And then he got deployed to Iraq. And when he came back, the second day he was back, he filed for divorce because she had been the wild party girl. Yeah, no kidding. While he was gone, she was out doing whatever. Everyone told him, do not marry her. She also had a ridiculous last name. I'm not going to say it. Okay. That's what I heard from the single men. The next group is married men. Now, whether the men are Gen X, whether they are millennial, whether they are Gen Z, they were all in agreement about what the problem is. Okay. So you have Gen X, millennial, Gen Z males who are single, still single, they are all have the same opinion. Over here, okay, you have married men. And when I heard the things these guys said, man, it rang true. It rang so true. Here it is. Married men, Gen X, Millennial, Gen Z. And by the way, Gen Z married men were the most ruthless and hard on Gen Z men who can't get a girlfriend. Millennial men were pretty like, yeah, I mean, they got some problem. Gen X guys are, yeah, I guess, like, well, I'm not Mr. Sellon. Mr. Sellon's my dad. If you don't want to be miserable, if that makes you happy, not being miserable. Millennial guys are like, yeah, these guys are like complete screw ups. They need mentoring, you know, really, really, really badly. Gen Z guys are like, Gen Z dudes who can't get married are a bunch of losers. Like that's the shade, okay? But they all had pretty much the same thing. One, they said the problem is the lack of career opportunities hurt guys. Yeah, absolutely. Ask any married man. A family's expensive. I have a stay-at-home wife, and I love it. It's amazing. I love that my wife can stay home. But I climb through a lot of attics. I run a lot of conduit. I deal with a lot of crappy clients. Actually, most of my clients are great, but sometimes I have to deal with them just to get through, to put bread on the table. You got to be someone who goes, sure, those scorpions are coming out of that hole right next to where I got to work, but I got to work. I got to get this done. It's 118 degrees outside. I'm going to get that motion sensor light up for Mrs. Deborah Shackelberg. Okay. And after this, I got to go, get that car charger done for Aaron Cohen. Right. I got to get it done. So the lack of career opportunities hurts guys. It hurts them tremendously. I feel for you guys. That's the reason I made that video about how to get into the trades. That's where money is. Okay. Look, in the Las Vegas area, I'm in the top 10% of income earners. My household is in the top 10% of income earners in the Las Vegas area because I work in the trades. You want to know where the money is? It's in the trades. It's not in getting your philosophy degree. Okay, go to that video, 6 tips for getting into the trades. That should be your Bible. I have guys email me constantly who ask me questions that I answered in that video. Okay. I also have guys emailing me, several already, said, look, I got my first job in the trades. I start on Monday using the tips you gave me. I put that video out for free because my goal is to help you guys. I see you guys are hurting. I see you're suffering. I want to add to it. I mean, someone has to step in for the fact that your Gen X parents were failures. They had no mentoring at all for you guys. It's very sad. So one, married men said the issue is the lack of career opportunities hurt guys. Yes. Okay. There's one place where straight white guys are always going to dominate, and that's in a meritocracy. And guess what the trades are? They're a meritocracy. When you drive by a road construction site, notice the gender and race of the people holding the flags. Just notice it. Drive by about 10, 15 of them. You start to notice. Then notice the guys who are in the machinery and the ones out doing the work. Notice, okay, where are they putting the women? Where are they putting, who's the DEI hire? It's always the flagger. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. The trades are a meritocracy because that wall is either plumb or it's not. It's just like it's either 120 volts or it's not. It's not working. Fix it. Okay. There's no room for meetings about meetings to prepare for the next meeting. They don't have it. Okay. So lack of career opportunities hurts guys. This is from married men saying this. Okay. Flat personalities. Married men, Gen X, Millennial, Gen Z, said the guys who are single, they tend to be low T guys. They have no drive. They have no assertiveness. They have no dominance. They have no ambition. Amen. That is exactly what I've noticed. It has been beaten out of them. They have been told repeatedly, if you're a good boy for mommy, you're going to get something. And then they're horrified. Why don't women find me attractive? Women don't find me sexy. Look, I'm so virtuous. I'm meek. I'm humble. I talk a lot about theology. Why are they not interested in me? You're not assertive. You're not dominant. Well, you're very dominant in the comment section. Are you dominant in person? Are you assertive in person? Are you going to tell your boss, no, I need that raise? And when he says no, are you going to go get a job? No, or another job. I mean, a lot of you guys just stick with it. It's the path of least resistance for you guys. And women find that about as sexy as a pile of cow manure. It's a turnoff. They look at you as children because you guys are children. Lack of conversation skills in general, especially with women, i.e., talking about the filioque, Thomism debates they've watched at all or at alia, instead of, so what did you do this weekend? Do you play sports? Ask her if she plays sport. Oh, I played soccer in high school. Oh, what position did you play? I played, forward. Oh, how many years in high school did you play it? Da, da, da. Oh my gosh, I don't know much about soccer, but, watching people play it, it takes tremendous effort. I mean, did you do all 4 years of, conversations like that. Show interest. With guys, a conversation is 50-50. With women, it's like 70-30, 70% on them, and then a significant portion of that 30% is about you as it relates to them, okay? You gotta tap into a woman's narcissism, make it about them. You guys, the other thing is lack of conversation skills in general. Okay. Flagrant disregard of Ford, Ford, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Go watch that show I did with Nicholas Cherion. Phenomenal amount of wisdom for young men. Phenomenal amount of wisdom. He was very extroverted. This is how he got, sorry, he's very introverted. This is how he learned to become extroverted. He learned to become this guy whom women are attracted to. Phenomenal and so much wisdom for young men. You guys need to read it. You guys are too busy watching people who are not helping you. In fact, you're just too busy on the internet. I mean, okay. Another one I hear is the three P's. I can't say the one, but it means adult content, playing video games, and pot. You got to stop all three of those. Done. That all that stuff is killing your T levels. It's destroying it. You're up all night, your sleep is crappy, your diet is crappy, you're not exercising, your T levels are super low. I know so many Gen Z guys who have lower T levels than I do, and I'm 42. If you're 22, your T level should be high, 800s. I know Gen Z guys with T levels that would be considered low even for a 42-year-old. And these are guys who they exercise. The thing is, guess what? A lot of video games, a lot of pot, struggle with adult content. They're up all night. You know, they're on the internet a lot. Screen time is really damaging for your T levels. Okay. Not caring about appearance. Greasy hair. I see that a lot. Unkept facial hair. You think it's like, "Oh, Lord have mercy, look at my beard. It's unkept. I'm like a monastic. Oh, the women no, they don't like it. The women don't find monastic sexy. They don't. So stop trying to look like one. Stop trying to act like one. You wanna go act like a monastic, go live in a monastery, and then stop bitching about how women don't find you attractive and you can't find a woman. Refusal to interact with women. God, Lord. One guy who wrote in, I'm gonna read the actual quotation from him. This dude's funny. I'm gonna keep his name private here. Let me see if I can pull this one up here. He said, okay, this is a married man. He said, our parish, like many, has seen massive growth. What I've noticed is a vast majority of these newcomers are in their early 20s and single. It seems to be a microcosm of the real world in the sense that young people don't seem to do well communicating in person anymore. Another thing I've noticed is we have 3 to 4 young men that want to be deacons, but they want to wait until they're married first, right? Because if you're ordained, you have to be married before you're ordained. I mean, and I agree with that. You shouldn't like, "Oh, I went on a date with Deacon so and so." Like, no, it's not appropriate. The problem is they can't seem to find women that are serious about settling down. These guys are not ugly, they're not overweight, and they're very pious and active members of our parish. There are several single women that attend our parish, and nobody seems to take advantage of that and start talking. It's like watching wild animals that have been in captivity so long that they've forgotten how to mate. Hilarious. I notice this constantly. The single guys are way over here. The single women are way over there. Go over and say hello to them. They go, well, I'm afraid she'll reject me. Yeah, of course she will. Women do that. Women are snobby. They're snobby because they're insecure. Once you spend a lot of time around women, you realize how insecure women are, and you realize they're no one to be feared. They're teenagers in adult bodies. Do not be afraid of them. Okay. They're very lovable. They're very wonderful people, but they're nothing to be afraid of. They put on a mask of snobbiness to cover up for the low self esteem. Women struggle with low self esteem like you wouldn't believe. Here is a huge one that I saw again and again and again coming from the married men. The problem that young men face is they are unaccountable for why they are so unsexy to single women, and the young men are completely resistant to any improvement. I'm going to read that again. Largely unaccountable for why they are so unsexy to single women and resistant to any improvement. I've seen it. I can't tell you how many times. Dude, you got to get in shape. Well, I want a woman who likes me for me. It sounds like talking to women about why no dude wants them. That's what it sounds like. It's like they've borrowed lines straight out of women's dating manuals. Well, they'll just realize you're great. You don't need to improve. They don't realize the diva you are. Feminism has seeped so deeply into society that it has infected how the males, even the red pill males, look at the world. They're borrowing the same exact strategies as the feminists use. One guy who wrote in said he regularly hears from guys taller than him, and this guy says he's 5'8", that they can't find dates because they aren't 6 feet tall. And this guy said he has a pretty wife. I see it all the time. I'm not 6 feet tall. I'm 5'11". Zach, who was on, he's what you say, 5'9" on a good day. His wife is beautiful, super, super beautiful wife, trad dude. Okay. The dude I knew who just could get women to absolutely melt more than any other. He was 5'7". We're gonna get into why. He was in phenomenal shape. He took care of himself, and he could have conversations. He made women feel comfortable. Okay, the general verdict from men, whether Gen Z, millennial, Gen X, is that these single guys are single for a very good reason. Like a very, very, very good reason. Okay. Now, married men also came down really hard on the women, why these women are still single. This is what I got from the married guys. The women are flat and they have flat, sorry, they're not flat. I apologize, misphrase. These women have flat, boring personalities. They're not interesting people. Yeah, no kidding. The women lack conversation skills specifically and interpersonal skills in general. So again, where are the other two donuts? Uh, 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 we ran out. Okay, were you going to communicate that to me? The same girl had her name tag on upside down. Probably she thought it was funny, or she's just retarded. I don't know. They are incredibly unaccountable. This is a thing the guy married men mentioned. The women are incredibly unaccountable. The example of Katherine kept coming up again and again and again from the married men. They're as unaccountable as Katherine. Look, it's not my fault. Sure, I have the super high body count. Sure, I'm taking nudes of myself, but I'm crucifying these dudes for struggling with adult content, even though I'm creating it and disseminating it. Hey, not my fault. Okay, maybe people don't like you because you're not a catch. No, it's the men's fault. Okay. So the men and the women, the verdict from married men is that the single guys and single women are totally unaccountable. No communication skills. And there's a certain level of lack of accountability that you find in women. Believe me, I can tell you all about it. Um, but there's a certain level of acceptable lack of accountability in women. It's just built into them. But it's just out of control in the Gen Z women. My own commentary is that you cannot expect women to train the men they want to marry on how to interact with women. But what these guys desperately need is to interact with women so they can learn how to interact with women. So this is a thing. Let's say you're a 35-year-old woman and you're married. Go approach some of these Gen Z guys and just try and talk to them and teach them how to have conversations. You're married, you're not interested in them. You're 10 years older than them. Teach them to have conversations. I was having coffee with one of the local priests, and I joked that when he gets these women who have lived the dissolute life, their penance should be you have to teach the boys at the parish how to have conversations with women. That's your penance. Okay. He laughed. He thought it was relatively funny. I don't know if he just thought it was funny because it was like, "Oh, that'd be ridiculous," but he goes, and by the way, when I told, I worked with several clergy on that or a few clergy on this, and I told them about what I was gonna put in there, and they were just like, "Thank God. Someone say this. Someone say this, please." But that's the issue is you guys don't interact with women, so you don't know how to interact with women. The only way you learn to interact with women is by interacting with them and dealing with their blow-ups. It's by dealing with their roller coaster personalities. It's by dealing with their fickleness. It's realizing that women are women. The excitement of a woman is the fact that she is someone whom you have to sort of maneuver around and learn how to work with, right? Um, it's like a jujitsu match, right? It's you learn to work around and with this person to win, and women are like that. That's the excitement of them. The third group is engaged and married women. About 25 of them, I would say, wrote in. This is what they had to say about. We're going to start with the females. This is what these women had to say about Gen Z females who are single. The girls are ultra materialistic. Again, this is engaged and married, Gen X, millennial, Gen Z women. Most of the women who wrote in are recently married. Most of the convert women who wrote in fact, yeah, I think most of them said that either they met their husband and then converted, or they started showing up to an Orthodox church and they got picked up as inquirers. A lot of dudes. And I think this is an issue, is that when we find these, like repentant party girl types, they learn that there's a lot of dudes in the Orthodox church. There's not many dudes in the evangelical church. Well, if you're a 30-year-old with a body count of 25, what are your chances of finding a Christian dude in an evangelical church when there's a bunch of 19 and 20-year-old virgins you're competing with? Not very high. Although some of these dudes really like the whole cuckold thing, it seems. But let's say you go to an Orthodox church, suddenly you have a little bit. This is how they think. They think they have a better chance. All of a sudden, there's all these guys, in an Orthodox church, just like a construction site, just like in the military, just like in a dojo. Everyone has beer goggles on. A mid suddenly becomes an eight. I think that's what's happening. Is we're going to get invaded by these repentant party girl types who are single looking for dudes because they realize, hey, eating is good in the Orthodox Church. You can find some dude who you can push around, some naive guy you can push around. You can manipulate him into thinking that that every dude needs to marry Saint Mary of Egypt. This is going to be a real thing, and Andrew Wilson, thank God, is talking about this. Some of the clergy I've spoken to, they've said, yes, they're starting to see this. And they're trying to keep the young dudes in their parish away from some of these women. Some of these women are predatory, absolutely predatory. That's some, it's not all. So the girls are materialistic. They don't recognize characteristics that make good men or fathers. It was a big issue. They're looking for the dude who they don't know how to find a good man. And so they try to they see my friends, they like a guy who has a nice car, so I should look for a guy who has a nice car. That's the issue with these women who have remained single, okay? Now keep in mind, there's a sample bias here. Extremely unaccountable about their actions and past. Think they can do whatever the hell they want, and anyone who has a problem with it is the problem. Paging Catherine on aisle 5. Most of the married women brought up Catherine, including one woman who admitted she'd been extremely promiscuous in the past, but was now married and had numerous children. She read Catherine's article and said it was just straight up hit the wall feminism. No accountability whatsoever for her past. Look, this is a thing that as men, what women don't get is that men look at women like a plate of food. Now, if no one's eating off of that plate, that's a good plate of food, right? But let's say someone's eaten, take a spoonful, stuck the spoon back in. How likely are you to want to eat that food? Well, not, let's say two people have eaten off that plate of food, stuck the spoon back in. How likely are you to eat that plate of food? Let's say 7 or 8 or 9, 10, 15 people have stuck their spoon in there, eaten, put it back. Are you going to eat that plate of food? That's how men look at women. Now, I know guys are going to come, I don't look at women. Okay, that's great. I've noticed that guys have high body counts. They also don't seem to really look at women that way. They don't. But most guys, especially traditional men, they do look at women that way. They really do look at women that way. I don't see anything wrong with that. But I mean, when I was looking for a wife, that was a standard I had. I want my wife to be unspoiled. I think that's what most traditional men want. Okay. My wife and I have a body count of one another. Well, women don't get that when you're that plate of food that 12 people have eaten off of. You can't demand what a plate of food that has not been eaten from can demand. And women don't want to hear this. They love this idea of, well, that was the old me. This is the new me. But you know that women don't really believe that because they constantly bring up the past about other people. So they don't extend the new versus old to other people. It's the new me, you can't bring up my past. By the way, I'm going to bring up your past constantly. So women don't really believe this. It's a manipulative tactic. It's to deal with the fact they made horrible life decisions they won't take accountability for. And the fact is body count matters. It matters massively. There's a study I'm going to put into the video description about the effects of body count on marriage. Best success in marriage, women who have had 0 sexual partners prior to their husband. The highest divorce rate is women who have had 11 or more. The second highest is women who have had 2 sexual partners prior to their husband. After that, it's women who had 1 sexual husband prior to their husband. And then after that, I believe it's the ones who had, no, I got that backwards. I think the highest divorce rate is women who have 11 or more. Then after that, it's have 2 prior to their husband. And then after that, it was 3 to 10 more than their husband before their husband. Then there was 1 before a husband. And the lowest divorce rate goes to ding, 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 virgins. As the saying goes, no diamond, no hymen, no diamond. Okay. You know, we have this idea that it doesn't really matter. It's like, no, I mean, if I spent a summer doing a white powdery substance named after, or a white powdery substance has the same name as a soda that you snort up your nose, you would think that would affect me. I would have the good sense if I just said like, that was the old me. That was the old me. It doesn't affect me anymore. It's like, no, it affects you. You spent a summer doing Coca-Cola. Like there's biological consequences. You know, we learned that for 4 or 5 guys, women they just stop pair bonding. And one of the priests said, you know, I can't talk about this stuff in my parish because how many of the women in that parish have high body counts? Well, then their husbands are sitting there. Do you think their husbands will be like, yeah, my wife slept with 12 guys before me. Yeah, okay. Isn't pair bonding with me like she, yeah, well. No, they don't want a bunch of angry women in the office screaming. I slept with 17 men. St. Mary of Egypt was forgiven. Are you going to cast the first stone? I'm going to cast the first stone. And the reason is that the guys who were that story of the woman who was found in adultery, this is what you don't get. And a lot of the commentators don't think they pick up on this. Those guys were her customers. When he says without sin, he's talking about like adultery. That's what he's referring to. And we know because Christ talks about, the two become one flesh. And he talks about how the only sin that can dissolve a marriage is there's many sins. He's not saying all, he's not like, look, if you've committed any sin whatsoever, you cannot throw a stone. No, he's talking about adultery. That's why they're hypocrites. I apologize. I said that the men were her customers, but they were adulterers, right? We know Christ says the only sin that can dissolve a marriage is sexual immorality. So sins are not all on the same level. So in this, so if you want to throw the first stone, you want to throw it as hard as you can. You want to go for a headshot. There's better things you can do with your life, but don't let someone use that story to try and bully you into not calling a spade a spade. And I know a lot of guys. They married chicks with high body counts. They don't care. A lot of these guys have high body counts. I think if you have a high body count, you should probably marry someone with a high body count. You can relate to each other. Okay. The other thing that married women, regardless of age, pointed out about the women: over the top, entitled, and unrealistic. One guy asked this girl out several times. So this woman told me the story about her parish. I have to take out personal details. Guy asked this girl out several times, and the girl kept saying no. So this girl goes to the woman who wrote in. Let's just call her. Let's just call the woman who wrote in. What's a good name here? What's a saint? We'll just call her Veronica. Okay. So girl comes to Veronica and says, "I really want a guy. I've turned down so and so, but I think he'd actually be a good guy. Can you go to him and uh, tell him that I like to date? I'd actually like to date him." So this Veronica goes to this guy and goes, "Go ask her out again." Guys, she just shot me down 3 times. So just go ask her again. I think she's ready. And it was something like this. Well, the guy goes to the girl, and the girl goes, "No." Guy goes back to Veronica. "Shot me down." Veronica goes to the girl. "Why'd you shoot him down?" "Well, I like the idea that he keeps asking me out. I feel special." Hear stories like that a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of these women who they really need a simp. And by the way, like a real, like legit simp is not a dude who's just trying to make friends with women. You should make friends with women. You got to be friends. I mean, like the priest I had coffee with yesterday, he's had this phenomenal advice. He goes, "You got to be friends before you can get married, because when you're 70, no one's when you're 70 and you look like crap. You look good for a 70-year-old, but a 70-year-old looks good is not anyone you'd want to sleep with." Um, you gotta have something that holds a marriage together, and it can't just be sexual attraction. It's gone at that point. Your T levels are super low, your uterus is all dried out. No one's looking at you as a mating partner. You gotta actually have personality, you gotta be friends, you gotta have something that stays together. My wife and I are very, very good friends. Yes, we bicker, we fight, okay? But we're friends. We turn towards one another for solutions, and that's why our marriage is strong. The other thing that women point out constantly is they have married women point out the girls have no clue what they want. They just go, "Well, these other women said that a nice car, that's important." And that's because women use other women as a barometer for who they find attractive and what they find attractive. Now, in all fairness, women don't know what they want in general, and it's been this way forever. So I think we should give Gen Z women a pass on that. The other thing that married women really harped on was they said that the single women are lazy. uh, yeah, I've noticed there's some real work ethic challenges going on with Gen Z women. The boys, you get them on something, man, they tear through it. You got to micromanage them, but the girls are just like, "I gotta do this, I gotta do that." It's like dealing with government employees. The same group, engaged and married women, wrote in about the single males. Effectively the same what married men said about the single guys. Single guys have no conversation skills, unwillingness to approach females, unkept appearance, really low T guys, no drive, no assertiveness, no dominance, no leadership skills. Every woman pointed this out. I think no leadership skills. Big. Women want a leader. All of the women pointed this out. And this is funny because most of the guys did not point this out, but most of the women did. Gen Z men are in desperate need of mentors. Notice that women pointed that out, and I agree with that. I agree with that completely. You guys need mentors, and you look, I'll be your mentor. You go, well, how do I? I'll be your mentor. Okay, if you're in my parish or you come out, first thing I'm going to tell you, get in the dojo. I don't want any excuses. I want you in that dojo twice a week. I don't care if you get choked out. I don't care if you. I mean, I don't want to hear excuses. I want you lifting weights twice a week. I want you deleting all your social media except YouTube. You can keep YouTube. You're gonna need it to listen to when you're working out. I want you getting a job, preferably in the trades. I don't care what it is, drywall or plumber, whatever. And none of the three P's. You're deleting your video games. You're deleting any adult content whatsoever. You're not smoking pot. You're not vaping. Vaping is like the gayest thing ever. Hardest part of vaping is telling your parents you're gay. My brother told me that joke. Okay, what can be done about it? First, let's go into the comment section here. Where were we? I gotta get Rachel. Oh my God, Rachel, how you doing? I gotta get Ubi and Andrew to hang out because it would be instant friends. We're both blue collar guys. Absolutely. By the way, if you guys haven't read Rachel's book, Occult Feminism, phenomenal book. I am not at all interested in the occult, not even remotely. I loved it. I had no clue where all this feminist shit came from. Excellent. My brother bought me a copy. He bought one for himself. Phenomenal read. Also, go watch her interview on Joe Rogan. Really great. She's a very charming lady. I love the way she was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty. I'm undefeated." I think that one kind of went over Rogan's head a bit, but I caught it right away. Okay, I don't know where I am here in the chat. Oh wait, because I'm like boomer tech here. Okay, how do I? Oof, you guys have been tearing it up here. Okay, let's see. All right, there we were. Okay, let's start going through doing some super chats. Oh yeah, we did that one. That was a good one. Okay. Daedalus, Greco Actual, became a YouTube member. Thank you, buddy. I love that. Yeah, when you become a channel member or on Patreon, you can do study Latin, Greek, and Syriac. And then you can watch all of the videos that I have up there. I'm doing a catechism series. I'm responding to Ibarra's book chapter by chapter. Okay, great. Ains Knoll, great guy. You know who this is. Christ is ascended. Sad this may get taken down. Need to make this mandatory for all our local ortho bros. Happy to have you in Miami again sometimes. Ains Knoll is a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. He filmed the conversations, the shows with Father Joseph Lucas and I. Go over to their channel, Apostolic Tradition. I was really disappointed to see that when Kyle King and Transfigured Life interviewed Father Joseph, they didn't list your guys' channel, Apostolic Tradition, as a collaborator. That could have sent a lot of people your way. You have a great channel, great people. And Ains Knoll, he is also a dude who he snagged a beautiful wife. And the way he did it, even though he's a big dude at the time, and big not in a muscular way, he's now in great shape. But he's got those empathetic eyes. And he just looks at you and he goes, "Can I, how did that make you feel?" And you're just like, I'm being sucked in. I'm not even a woman. I'm just being like sucked in. This is great. It's an amazing guy. Okay. Samuel Farah. Or is it Farah? Is that an Arabic name? Farah? Okay. Have you seen the latest video on Jay Dyer's grifting? Seriously disturbing. I'd love to see a review. Search airfield proof. Jay Dyer is not a grifter, and I'll tell you how I know. I know him in real person. I know him in real life. Jay is a person who could have made a lot more money doing Protestant apologetics or just doing whatever. He makes most of his money off of geopolitical stuff, not off of theology in any way, shape, or form. And even Father Jonathan Ivanov, he told Luther, I forget his name, the guy in Transfigured Life, he said, Jay Dyer is responsible for bringing more people into the Orthodox Church than anyone else. And if the clergy say these guys are poorly adjusted, it's the clergy's job to get these guys adjusted. I think a lot of the clergy are, and I'm not saying a majority, but I think many of them are much more interested in showing high numbers of converts coming in than in actually sifting through people. Um, your catechism should be at least 1 year, maybe even two. Mine was 18 months. Okay. So $5. Thank you. I appreciate that. You're a sweet person. Ooh, we got $10 here. Jesus forgave the prostitute and say she was marriage material. NV clear launched detected. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some people should just, I mean, look, there, we don't like to think there's stains and sins that make you like unmarriable or clergyable. But if there's sins that make you unordainable, there should be sins that make you unmarriable. Um, there if sin has damage. When we go to confession, we're forgiven for the sin, but we're not automatically deified. We're not perfected. We're not granted theosis. Sin has real consequences. If I drive too fast and I hit someone on a motorcycle, let's say I drink way too much, I jump on a motorcycle and I go driving, I get in an accident and I lose both my legs. Okay. I can be forgiven for drinking too much. I don't get my legs back. There's real effects to sin. There's real effects. We end up with the scars of our sins. $5. Whale, no, white lightning. Sorry. What's wrong with just living alone, paying bills, and going to church? I'm 53, too old for the insanity. My late girlfriend was a witch with BPD. Good Lord. I'm so sorry, dude. For 10 years, but borderline personality disorder is it's just insanity. There's a book called I what's it called? I hate you, comma, don't leave me, about how to deal with people with borderline personality disorder. I've known numerous of them. They are hell on wheels, and it's much more common in women than men. It's also very common with bipolar disorder in women. Yeah, those people they've gotten a hard shot. I mean, they've gotten a bad deck of cards. They've gotten a bad hand. They're bipolar. They're borderline. That doesn't mean you need to rescue them. I highly suspect there's a lot of fake virgins. Um, could be. You can tell when you talk to women, they have women who are virgins, they don't have that jaded, muted feel to them. They're very bubbly and effervescent. They're sort of accidentally flirtatious. And then when a guy sort of like approaches them a little more seriously, they kind of back off. They don't quite realize what they just got into. You can tell they're not used up personality wise. They don't have that, you know, scanning for dangers in a conversation kind of feel to them. You can tell a guy's a virgin because he talks about D&D. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. Um, how about being a passport ortho bro in Eastern Europe? Yeah, why not? I'm a passport bro. My wife's Syrian. By the way, you wanna know where the most beautiful, I mean, the most beautiful women I've ever seen is in Western Syria and Southeastern Turkey. I mean, just unbelievably gorgeous. I mean, you meet these women, very, very light skin, light hair, gray eyes, blue eyes. My wife is Arab, but people don't assume it. She's lighter skinned than I am, which is hard. to be lighter skinned than I am. Her hair is lighter than mine. Her eyes are lighter than mine. One of our children is super blonde. But you get up towards like Latakia and you find these women who are just like bleach white skin, straight, thick, jet black hair, and blue eyes. Very beautiful, very charming, very domestic. I'm very, very lucky to have my wife. You know, you can make it happen. Okay. All right. Blu-ray Romania. I don't know what NOK is. New Norwegian krone. I don't know. 50. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I have no idea how much money that is, but it looks like a lot. Covert feminism is present in Eastern European Ortho churches. Yeah, absolutely. That's true. So think twice before wanting to look for a wife there. They want money plus faith plus looks. I mean, one of the dudes who wrote in said it's like the only women that show up to the church are these random, like, Russian club girls who show up, buy $60 in candles, and then just start lighting them during the service and walk out. You gotta understand, I mean, communism ruined these people, and women are a lot more delicate than men. I mean, women are delicate instrumentation. Uh, a guy you can drop on his head a few times, it's like a hammer. You can drop it, still, still good. Okay. Women are like a fluke multimeter. You don't want to drop that from 2 stories. Women are like an iPhone. You don't want to drop them. But the thing is that feminism in one form or another is everywhere in the world because of the media, and women will tell you these super feminist things to just like get you see how you react. They're shit testing you, and so much of what women say it's just a shit test. They're just trying to figure out where you are, what your limits are, and most of it is stuff they don't even believe in. I'm just going to be entirely honest with you. Hey, Rachel, just saw your comment. I'm going through these. Man, we got a lot. It's a great chat. We got 412 people watching right now. New member. Thank you so much, Rachel. You're a sweetheart. Wonderful. Yeah. Oh my God. She just gifted 20 Ubi Petrus memberships. Thank you so much, Rachel. She believes in the cause. You guys, whenever you're in Las Vegas, you and Andrew, you gotta come on. I would be super honored to have you guys on. I know I'm a tiny little show and it wouldn't contribute in any way, shape, or form to your guys' massive presence, but I would just love to meet you guys, take you guys out for dinner, have you something. Yeah, it'd just be great. All right, tribulation saints. Women want men that are leaders. Yeah, no kidding. If a man is lacking masculinity, it's also a problem. These young men need mentorship. 100% agree. Yeah, they really need mentorship. Again, you're in Las Vegas, you're a guy in the church, I'll be your mentor. Um, I'm late to the stream, so forgive me if this has been asked, but what advice would you give to a man who spent almost 15 years living in hedonism? Detox. You need to talk that through really with your priest because he knows exactly what the situation is. Um, might be good to just go to a monastery for a while and I don't know. I mean, that's spiritual advice. I don't give people spiritual advice. If I do, it's accidental. I shouldn't do it. But um, you need to go to your priest and tell him exactly like, look, this is the stuff I did. This is how long I did this stuff. This is how I feel about it. What do I do? What's a plan going forward? You're probably gonna need a priest who's a few years older than you, who has experience with this. Maybe one who has a background in psychology. I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I can't help you with that much. Rachel, thank you for the $10. My best advice to women: take radical accountability for anything in your past. Make sure the guy you pick has a virtuous foundation and put maximum effort into being the best wife you possibly can. Amen. Amen. One of the women who wrote in, she lived a super promiscuous past, and she said, think about Catherine's articles, there's no accountability. I had to take accountability for my past. I have to take accountability for it every day. I bear the scars of that. I have to raise my daughters not to do it. And there's nothing you can do about your past except be accountable and realize where you come from. You can't stone people for sins you've committed. Now, if you haven't committed those sins, I mean, you probably shouldn't stone them. But you really don't stone people for sins you've committed. That was one of the things about Catherine's article. It was so obnoxious. Here she is sending nudes. She is creating adult content. She is disseminating adult content. And then she is crucifying these guys for struggling with adult content. I mean, pot kettle much? And by the way, please do not go look up those images. Not only because it's just not good to look at those images, but they were not pretty. They were blurred out. It's okay. The Mountain. I'm a cradle Protestant looking into the apostolic churches. I recently found out the Catholic Church only offers a bread and not the wine during Mass. That's not true. They'll offer both, actually. Is the Orthodox Church similar? No, you're given the body, blood of Christ on a spoon at once. I remember one lady told this priest, she's like, I have celiac disease. This priest is Russian. He's like, he kind of hears it. He's like, okay, I will give you only the communion bread. She's like, huh? Like, um, Romanian Orthodox living in Norway. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. $20. Um, by the way, when you're a guy who's just interesting and you have stories, women want to meet you. Mason, a few women actually wrote in and said, hey, I want to meet Mason. He told a story. We did that show on the other channel, Mere Orthodox Christianity, about Mason's time on Mount Athos. Women love that. It's not that he's a virtuous guy. I mean, he is, okay, but it's that he's an interesting guy. He's an interesting guy. He looks like someone who has skills to have leadership. Mason has a plan for life. Mason deleted all of his social media aside from YouTube. Some woman wrote in, Romanian girl in the UK, and goes, I want to meet this guy. I want to get to know him. And he wrote back and he said, at this point in time, I'm not ready for that, but I would like to just get to know you. That's the right approach. Make friends with women. Like, you're not going to play D&D with them. You shouldn't play D&D in general. It's a stupid game. It's a dumb game. But make friends with women. Like, see if you can get on I don't know, find some activity. Maybe you're really into, like, the World Uno Championship. I don't know. Like, try it. Just get in there. You have to learn to you can only interact with women. You can only learn how to interact with women if you're interacting with women. It's that simple. Okay, QQQ. Is miscegenation a sin? No, it's not. But I'll be honest with you, I want grandkids that look like me. Just gonna say it. I want my kids to marry from high IQ populations. Now, I will say, when it became clear how many single dudes we had at our parish, we had this steady stream of these Eritrean girls. Some of them were really cute, visiting our parish, and the dudes were like, they were too nervous to talk to these girls. Like, I'm just not. I'm not getting it. I don't get it. Okay. All right. So I'm going to close the comments again. You guys can keep commenting. I'll go back through. Time is 10:53 now. Okay. We still got a few more pages here. Okay. So what is the solution? I mean, I'm going after you guys. I'm yelling at you. What is the solution to this? And the only solution, there's a few solutions, and it's you have to approach this as a multi-pronged attack. One, focus on yourself. Stop thinking about what the women are like and the problems with the women. Stop. Focus on yourself. This is extremely important. I saw this great comment on X on Thursday. I'm going to link it in the video description. Here's what said. Chaste women are not naturally occurring. They are cultivated by fathers and husbands, and the former have largely abdicated. Most of the onus now falls on the husbands, which requires two things. Start relatively young, be masculine enough that she wants to follow you. This is a thing with you guys, you Gen Z guys, you're low T. You got to be a masculine dude. That doesn't mean being Andrew Tate. It means having drive. It means going out there and getting that job. One dude who I hopefully will soon have the honor of being a godfather to him. I'm like, he goes, I want to know what it's like to be an electrician. Can I shadow you for a few days? I go, yeah, sure. He shadowed me. He goes, okay, now I'm going to go shadow a plumber. Okay, I'm going to see what I can do. Yeah, the economy isn't good. So I sent him some information on getting into controls and instrumentation. That's gravy work. I wouldn't mind getting into that myself. That's an electrical. Okay, he has drive, he has push, he has conversation skills. You know exactly who you are. Your name starts with an M. Your last name starts with a D. You're a cool guy. You're gonna land on your feet. You're gonna do very well. You're gonna do very well. But have drive. Read that again. Chaste women are not naturally occurring. They're cultivated by fathers and husbands, and the former have largely abdicated. Most of the onus falls on husbands now, which requires two things. Start relatively young, be masculine enough that she actually wants to follow you. You got to get a woman from her father, directly from her father. Because if you let her go out into the world, she's going to do God knows what with God knows who. She's going to come to you as damaged. She's going to expect you to be the cleanup crew. Some guys want to be the cleanup crew. I don't. I really don't. Okay. I raise my daughters to value themselves. I spend a lot of time with them, etc. Okay. So stop focusing on the women. All you can do is change yourself. I think most Gen Z women see no reason to change, and they're getting a lot of attention and they think it's great. And there's nothing we can do about the fact that they're getting all this attention. They think it's great and they don't want to change. Logical arguments have minimal effect on men, let alone on women. And I think most of these women, if they have not had strong father figures who rear them correctly, they're going to find out they're going to find out the really, 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 really hard way. So if you're a guy, just move on. Place your hopes elsewhere. If when we see swarms of Gen Z women converting, and we should try to convert these people. We need to spread salvation. We need to bring these people to repentance. We're going to see a lot of women taking the names of St. Mary Magdalene, St. Mary of Egypt. And I'm not saying that as a joke. I'm not saying you should marry these women. I think women with high body counts are probably much better off in relationships with guys who also have high body counts. There's way less jealousy, less resentment issues from the husband, etc. Um, okay. Second thing you can do if you're a Gen Z guy, what do? Find mentors. So find men who are on their first marriage, have been married for at least 10 years, preferably more. They appear to be happily married, and ask them to mentor you. And don't just hang out with them. Be upfront. Tell them, I need a mentor. Help me cultivate the characteristics that you think that I need to get to this place. Because the fact is that most of you, I'm gonna have to stand far back to do this. Most of you, you want to be up here. You're like way down here right now. I mean, you're at the base of Mount Everest. You need a Sherpa. I'll be your Sherpa. Okay. Uh, you need someone to guide you, and you need to find someone who has those characteristics, those interpersonal skills that will get you to where you want. Married men have interpersonal skills. Not only do they need those to get their wife, but you need them to keep a marriage going. You don't just get the woman, get the ring on it, and you're like, ha, you're mine now, woman. No, you got to like keep it going, um find a guy who's married. He has good relationships with his kids, no jail time, no one who's like been loaded up with restraining orders. Um, you know, these guys know how to get you where you want to be. Whatever you want to find in the world, whatever you want to be, find someone who's there and just ask them, how did you get there? And have them mentor you and be upfront with them. Don't just be like, how do you do that? You got to be like, look, I know this is how you guys need to do it. And I'm going to say it like you guys would, Gen Z. I'm going to be, first off, I'm going to look at the floor a lot, and I'm going to like have my shoulders kind of caved in, and I'm going to like, uh, and this is how you're going to say it. I'm going to do an accurate representation of how you're going to say it. Um, uh, I need a mentor, to help me, not be like a low T, pushover, dweeb who women, are uncomfortable around. Can you teach me to be like an assertive, guy who would actually be a worthwhile husband and can get a job. That's what it's going to be like when you guys ask. And a lot of these guys are, yeah, I can do it. What I'm finding is if you get guys that are way older, like, like white hair old, they're going to be like, oh, you just need somebody gentle with you. And they're just going to be like a second mother. You need someone who's going to yell at you. You need someone who's going to put their hand on your shoulder, shake you, and be like, yeah, let's start now. Meet me at the boxing ring tomorrow at 4. I'm going to teach you how to box. And you're going to go, my mom's worried about me getting hurt. And they're going to go, your mom's going to be just A-okay. Meet me at the ring tomorrow. I mean, that's what you need. You guys need to be pushed into situations that you really don't like, that terrify you, because that's what turns you into men. I remember when I was living in the West Bank, I had to do a visa run because my visa ran out in 90 days. And I was terrified. What do I do? The Jews are going to figure out that I've been living in the West Bank. And they probably already knew. But so I went into Jordan, and there's this pharmacist, by the way. He lived down the street from me. And I would see him every day, walk by, chat with him. And I ended up going to Jordan. It turned into a kind of a mess because I didn't realize I had to leave all of a sudden when I went to go get the visa as opposed to going the next day. So I had like $100 on me. I had like my wallet, my little Nokia phone. This is 2007. Pair of sandals, the clothes I was wearing, and like a little satchel with like an Arabic dictionary in it. I didn't even have food. Um, and I ended up going to Jordan. Jordan is the most boring place I've ever been. They call it the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. It's really the Hashemite Kingdom of boredom. And the when I came back, this pharmacist, his name was Michel or Michael. He's a French version of it. And he's like, he's ma shiftak le camion. I haven't seen you for so many days. And I said, I was in Jordan. Can it be Urdun? He said, oh, okay. He goes, lahalak, on your own? And I go, yeah. And he goes, and now keep in mind, I had traveled all the way to the Holy Land on my own. Okay. And he's like, this journey to Jordan has made you a man. And he put his hand on my shoulder and he came in and hugged me. And I just thought that was hilarious, right? But it's the same idea that difficulties, that these things build you up as a man. You need to go into these difficult situations. You need to be in those crappy attics when it's 114 degrees outside and it's 140 in the attic. You need to get choked on the dojo mat. You need to get punched in the face in the ring. You need to have your legs swept out from under you on a Muay Thai ring. You need to learn to just shut up and just power through it. You got to dig that hole when it's cold outside to get the fruit tree planted. It's crappy, but you got to do it. You got to go through these difficult things to make you a man. Girls will become women. This is really important. Girls menstruate and they become women, but boys are made into men. This is why, regardless of the culture, the earth is always seen, or almost always seen, I should say, as a female. It's natural. Nature is female. Humanity is male. Humanity is there to tame nature, to make nature productive. Okay. Women are natural, men are manufactured. That's a principle of anthropology. Okay. So we have focus on yourself. Find mentors. Third one, social skills. The interpersonal skills necessary to have a conversation with a woman and get her attention is a fraction of the interpersonal skills necessary to maintain a marriage. If you're terrified of asking a woman out, you don't stand a snowball's chance in hell at maintaining a marriage. Women are a roller coaster. You got to be on your feet. You got to be ready. You got to be putting out fires regularly. You also got to be the breakwater to her storm. If you don't know what a breakwater is, go look one up. It's basically like those little peninsulas they build out of rocks. The waves crash against it, the rocks aren't moved. You can't get sucked into her drama, and you got to have the interpersonal skills to diffuse situations. Women's moods are a roller coaster throughout the month, let alone postpartum depression, which can last for years. It's very, very common. I think it's effectively the norm. As well as there's this phenomenon that women call the wave, where their moods go up and down. It's independent of the menstrual cycle. So they have all that going on. And you could say that women are really a woman is really four different people, one after another, depending on where she is in her cycle. Well, you have to have pretty good interpersonal skills to diffuse those situations and to read where she is and to sort of meet her where she is and be the husband whom she needs you to be. And that means being a strong leader. It means being assertive. It means being in control of the situation. It means not getting sucked into her dramatic bullshit. It means being the guy who listens when she really needs you to listen. And by listen, I don't mean just taking in information. I mean expressing empathy. You know, really? She said that? Why would she say something so rude? That was so inconsiderate, right? So further, the type of foreign women you want are generally in hold on a second. Uh um hold on a second. Dr. Daniel calling me. Okay. Foreign women. A lot of guys think they can get foreign women. Okay, here's the thing. Going and marrying foreign women takes even greater social skills than marrying a woman from your own culture because now you're having to translate your interpersonal skills into another culture. Most of the guys I've known who have made cross cultural marriages work long term have pretty good interpersonal skills. I'd say I do too. Not to mention conversation skills and patience. So just going to, wherever and grabbing a wife, if you're some like incel autist dude, it's not going to work out. I've watched these fall apart. You got to develop those skills. I mean, look, women they're all the same on the inside. They want a guy who's a leader. They want a guy who's dominant. They want a guy who's assertive. They want a guy who makes them feel safe. They want a guy who has conversation skills. It doesn't matter if she's from Guatemala. It doesn't matter if she's from Cambodia. It doesn't matter if she's from Ukraine. It doesn't matter if she's from, you know, anywhere. That goes, okay? So, the other thing is the type of foreign women that you would actually want are typically in rural areas. So you likely need to learn another language to make this work. Now, their families are going to be extremely, extremely hesitant to marry her off to someone who's just going to take her. So you're really going to have the goods to convince them. Most of these guys who go back to their old country and get married, someone vouches for them. They have family that goes, "Hey, I know Sotiri. I know Sotiri's dad. You know, I know, Nicola's mother." Right? It's you can't just show up and be like, "Bring me your virgins." Like it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Okay. But you have to learn a language, probably. And the women in the cities have been marinating in feminism for a while. Now, as far as younger women go, this is a thing that came up again and again. Catherine, she criticized men who date below their age range, stating that she said she only saw one or only one reported it didn't work out. But again, Catherine's survey was extremely biased, because she excluded anyone who had dated successfully. And I don't know if that was by design, that maybe she was trying to make it look like, "Hey, I'm not so bad after all. I can't land a man, neither can these other 41 women." Um, I don't know. But the women whom I spoke or who wrote in who are engaged and married, all what, 25, 30 of them, somewhere in that area, all of them said that dating was pretty easy. I said, you're the belle of the ball. But here's what the thing, about half the women who wrote in said that there was a significant age gap between their husband and them. 3, 7, 8, 10 years. One lady said 12, and all of them said it was great. They said that, my husband now he's, sure I was, 21 and he was 28, but guess what? He was mature. He was established. He had created the world in which he could welcome a woman. This is really important. You create, as a male, you create the narrative and you welcome a woman into that world that you've created, in a very real way. There is a building together, yes, but you have to provide the stability in which you have to build that nest. It's like birds. The guy builds a nest and then the woman goes, "Yeah, that's a good nest. Okay, sure." You got to be that guy. And what I find is that more often than not, with younger dudes who are single, they're expecting women to be the prepackaged frame that the guy, can walk into, and that's not how it works. It's not how it works at all. Um, if you want numerous guys and several guys mentioned that they got their wives at about 18 or 19, the women 18, 19, when these guys were, mid-20s, even late 20s. A few of the women mentioned that too. They were 18, 19 years old. The thing is that if you wanna get a woman straight from her father, you gotta be the type of man her father will trust. So, some dude wants to marry my daughter. This is gonna start happening in the next 5, 6 years. What do you do for a living? How are you gonna provide for my daughter? You have benefits, health insurance? You have life insurance in case you get killed? Okay, how many kids you gonna have? What is your history? Okay, you have a drinking problem? What? You have DUIs? Okay. Oh, you're not assertive. My daughter's gonna just completely bulldoze you. Like, you gotta be someone who a father would want to give his daughter to. Okay. Now, some of the comments that came in were absolutely hilarious, and I've edited these down to avoid releasing personal data. One guy, a married guy, age 40, said, SSRIs and birth control are a big issue. I've been told the new second date milestone is getting to ask her if she's on medication. Oh, hilarious. Um, you know, one woman in her mid-20s said, I have had no problems dating in the church. I have heard firsthand accounts of rigid experiences of men at coffee hour. They want 6 to 10 kids, expect home births, etc. But these are relatively rare. In my experience, most of the women I've seen join the church get married really quickly, or sorry, relatively quickly. Later on, she continued, of the single women I know above 30, most have been divorced or are fat. Um, we got I'm gonna have to skip some of these, unfortunately. Some of these are really good, but I don't have time. I got to get ready for this interview with Dr. Conti, who just actually called me to say he's getting near. Um, One woman said she's married, she's 22. She goes, yeah, the ratio of men to women is really bad. She goes, the only other problem I see is shyness and social awkwardness from the men. I've tried to encourage some of them to ask girls out, but they never do. Some have traveled to different parishes looking for a girlfriend, and then they come and talk to me about a girl they met, and I'll ask if they got her number, and the answer is always no. I think they need to be more forward. It's like, yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Got to be assertive, got to be dominant. You can't be these low T guys. If there's one thing that women hate, it's that low T. Um, Married man, 30 with kids. Hey, I'm an unabashed ortho bro for what it's worth. Most of my single friends are struggling to find someone in general, let alone at church. He thinks it's 20% inability to hold a normal conversation, 80% lack of access to quality women. I'm gonna be honest, I think it's the other way around. It's 80% inability to have a conversation, but he said 20/80. Um, he said the boys seem afraid of getting involved with some random and wasting time, getting heartbreak. There's so much walking on eggshells, it's maddening to see. Most of these guys are in their mid 20s, 30s, and I feel a sense of hopelessness creeping in for them. The issues with socialization would be solved if the girls weren't so hostile. Sometimes I want to grab a girl and a guy and lock them in a room until they figure it out, but I think that's illegal. Okay. This one is hilarious. I'm gonna drink some water before I do this one. This guy wrote in. I changed the personal details. He is a Gen Z guy. It was beyond hilarious reading this. Okay, and I'm gonna have to bleep out some words here. Married Gen Z man, the most absolute brutal critiques of the reason why so many Gen Z men and women are single came from this dude. Quote, the problem I see with young men dating in the church are a lack of Orthodox women, Most Orthodox women, really women in general, being feminists, even if they verbally state the opposite. I've come to realize how much feminism is in the air we breathe and shapes both men and women's perceptions. Okay. Next point. The men are bleeping, I have to bleep that word out. The men are bleeping autistic. They will pull their phones out during conversations with people when they lose interest. They will use internet terms and references in real life constantly with no awareness of their audience. A lot of men make excuses for childish, arrested development type behaviors like playing video games or watching anime. The autism, though, is easily the worst offender, though. And I'm using the term autism a bit loosely here, not necessarily meaning clinical autism, just the Gen Z lack of social skills. I have experienced at least one guy in our church who just didn't wash his clothes. He smelled horrible. I had to verbally berate him on two separate occasions before he finally got his act together. But honestly, a lot of the guys, they just carry themselves like dweebs. It's an existential in an existential way, they lack aggressive, confident energy. I think it's a mix of autism and PMO, depleting their souls. PMO is, adult content, sexual self-gratification, and then what comes at the end of a sexual encounter. You can figure out those words. I can't say them or I'll get demonetized. So then what happens is they channel their existential angst into online debates and having correct opinions on things. It becomes their way to gain a semblance of self esteem, but really it just makes them arrogant and pretentious. The women being implicitly feminist is also a big issue, but I don't see that as being the primary problem when it comes to relationships forming. The reason a lot of these guys can't get women is because they're turbo nerds or chuds who just don't want to take ownership of their deficiencies. They'll be able to tell how Western society is broken at the metaphysical level and how all women are horoscopes. But meanwhile, they're underemployed or unemployed. They're out of shape. They have no charisma. They'll cope by basically repeating the incel line that, oh, if you're not tall, muscular Chad with a six-figure income, no woman wants you. It's hilariously untrue. Getting girls is not difficult because when I was 21, and this guy's what, I think 28, I was making 17 an hour and lived in a tiny apartment. It was still pretty easy for me to get dates. I'm a decent looking guy. Wasn't fat, but I'm not like the most attractive man alive. In middle school, I was bad at talking to girls. Terrible. Then I just started doing cold approaches with my friends. Got much better over time to the point where I could just meet women easily. Not that all of that was all not that all of them always were interested, but it just made me realize that if you're normal enough and make an effort, many women will be appreciative. But a lot of these guys, they will not hear that. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Okay. They'll just bitch and moan about how unfair everything is. Either that or they just don't make any real effort to improve. It's basically the male version of feminism. Whoa, get that. The guys don't want to hear it. They complain constantly about how unfair everything is. They don't make any real effort to improve. It's basically the male version of feminism. Any problems men have are excused by circumstances that are not an indication of a lack of manliness, is how these guys look at it. They go, well, I have problems. It's not because I'm like not manly enough. It's because it's like, no, it's because you're not manly enough. Okay. I've seen this online, but in person to a degree as well. It's really bizarre when you encounter it in person, pure delusion. What I see most frequently in person is just guys that are unreasonably socially awkward and lacking in basic charisma. The guys that do have the basic charisma are all either already married or get married relatively quickly. I've seen it too. 100%. 100%. Okay. They get sorted out really quickly. There's this dude at my parish, fat, autistic, but not objectively bad looking otherwise. Very intelligent. Should be a professor in an ideal world, but he's been unemployed for years. In his mid 20s, well, cute single girl at church took a liking to him because she's witty and kind of funny, even though she's autistic. They dated for like a year, but she ended up dumping him because he wasn't really capable of having a functioning relationship. Also, he never really got a job, just browsed the internet and played D&D. I'm not exaggerating much. To his credit, he did go to church regularly. She got with a different guy, also kind of autistic, but in shape, squared away financially, and much more socially well adjusted. And this girl is normal too, pretty intelligent, body count zero. But it was just like, man, God gave you a layup and you blew it, dude. The main takeaway for me, though, is this: guys who are genuinely normal and squared away seem to find women relatively quickly and get married. I've seen it too. I've seen it too. All the whining I hear online, it's like, look, I meet these guys who whine online, they come meet me and I meet them. I'm just like, you have no chance of ever getting married. None. Unless you do a total life makeover. The perpetually single guys are the ones that just, well, they're stunted. Even though you're in the position they want to be in, when you give them, he's talking to me, when you give them advice, they either don't listen or they call you a boomer or something ridiculous. It's really incredible how simply being able to take advice and implement it radically makes a difference. A guy that does that will shoot to the stars compared to ones that don't. I deliberately avoid talking theology with guys that don't have their shit together now. It kind of enables their delusions, their escapism, not just theology, but the chud topics. If we're going to discuss or if we're going to discuss the civilizational crisis, I want to discuss it with a guy who's in a situation like yours, Denny, someone in the arena, so to speak. Phenomenal. Bravo. I love it. Yeah. I mean, that's it. Okay. Now, I'm going to really quickly cover the situation with Katherine because we're taking a while here. You guys are great, by the way. Um, there's this rumor going around that I had something to do with her article. I did not. Some of her simps are going at it. Here's how I met her. She commented under the video that I did with Nicholas Cherion, which amazing, amazing video. Tons of wisdom for young men in that. You need to watch it. It's absolutely criminal that video only has like 4,500 views. It should have 20 or 30. It's amazing. She commented that she's having a hard time dating in the church. Now, I didn't know who she was. She was just someone commenting under it, said Katherine. Okay. I asked her to email me about it because I thought it was a good topic for a show, like people dating in the church. I've noticed it's a problem. We scheduled a Zoom meeting for I want to say it was a week after Bright Week, and she didn't show up to the second one, flaky. So we scheduled a second. She showed up to that, and it was a decent conversation. She offhandedly mentioned like a Twitter post. I thought nothing of it. Okay. And, I had no clue who she was. I didn't know she had this big following on X. I didn't know she'd been like kicked out of Dyer Court. I knew nothing. She's a person who showed up in the comments underneath a YouTube video saying, I'm having a hard time finding a guy. And during this conversation, you could tell she's kind of flat, muted personality, um, plain Jane kind of chick. She's pleasant. Um, she commented several times that I was well adjusted and had great interpersonal skills, and I was like, "Thank you. I know." Um, not gonna lie. And so then afterwards, during that, I said, "Well, if you could find out about the experience of other women and talk about that on the show, that'd be great." She was sure. We scheduled it for June 13th. She ended up saying, "Well, can we move it to May 23rd today?" That's why I'm doing this today. It's for you, Katherine. And she sent me the survey she did, and the survey was one question: what has been your dating experience in the Orthodox Church? She got 11 women to do it, and I said, you got to get more than that. You got to get way more. Try and get 50. Well, she got up to 41. I assume she was one of them. And she sent me a screenshot of it. As far as I knew, it was a one-question survey. What is your dating experience in the Orthodox Church? Funny enough, one girl had never dated in the church, so she just wrote 10. 10 out of 10. Again, her bias excluded women who had dated successfully, i.e., married and engaged women. She only went after single women. She went after the bottom of the barrel, the chicks who were not picked up right away. So of course you're going to get these really exaggerated, awful stories. Who knows how true any of those are? They sounded like things I've heard. Some of the stuff I'm like, yeah, I could see that. Now, about a week before the article came out, purely by accident, again, I did not register that she had a Twitter account. Purely by accident, I see this post. This Katherine. I'm like, Oh, with a K. And I click on the picture and I'm like, wait, this is her. Oh. And I start to go through her posts and it just sets off my spidey sense. It's lots of whining about men. It's this sort of like, I'm the cool it's the the women who are like, "Oh, I'm the cool aunt. I don't have kids. I'm the cool aunt." It was posts that indicated she's in the pre I'm a cool aunt stage. Like she's emotionally setting up for being a single childless woman for the rest of her life. That's kind of the feeling that I got with a lot of resentment towards men. I mean, axe to grind. She didn't express that in the Zoom meeting. Um, and when the article did came out, I read it and I was not pleased by the attitude it took. It was extremely unaccountable. I didn't like how it was phrased. But I thought, yeah, okay, I could express these points of contention on the show. I can make this interesting. I can turn this into a real back and forth. Okay. Um, Now, what happened was kind of funny. I get this text from a guy, great friend who thank you for sending me this. You know who you are. He sent me this thing that had Catherine talking about how in the past she had been super promiscuous. And I thought, okay, a bunch of dudes struggling with dating don't want to get dating advice from a woman who has a high body count. This is really not what they want. And then you combine this with the axe to grind against men, and everything just sort of came together all at once. And it was like, oh no. Uh, and I thought I got to cancel this show. I ended up losing a bunch of sleep because I actually, oddly enough, total godsend, checked my messages at 2:30 in the morning. I never did. I leave my phone in the bathroom. Just randomly, I just decided I should check messages. I saw them. Kept me awake from 2:30 to 6:30 a.m. that day. Um, I can't remember if I canceled it before or after the nudes came out. Either way, that would have been a deal breaker, okay? The thing is, why did the article set off so many men? And the reason is that we go back to women's status is based on how beautiful she is and her sexual purity. Women know this. This is why the first thing they do when they don't like a woman is they go after her sexual purity immediately. This is also why women who have high body counts, if you're a girl, if you've kept yourself pure and you're around a bunch of chicks with high body counts, those women with high body counts, they feel like total horoscopes around you. They're going to do whatever it is to corrupt you to bring you down to their level. If you're girls, keep yourself pure. Do not hang out with horoscopes. Do not. It's not a good idea. They'll do whatever to get you whatever, okay, to bring you to their level. Okay. So Catherine, based on her past, she's not like a pretty girl. She's not. She's a mid, sub mid. I don't know. She has a high body count, so she's a low status woman. Okay, we don't like to think that way, but that is the case. That really is the case. Cultures have realized it from time immemorial. Well, you suddenly have a low status woman lecturing a bunch of low status men on what colossal, unmarriable failures they are. And it set these guys off. Like, who is she to, like these guys have been pushed around, they've been beaten up, they've struggled to find jobs, struggled to find careers, they have no mentors. They've been disabled by the fact that they have been raised by Gen X. And here you have this low status woman coming along and saying to these dudes, you are the problem. You are screw ups. You are bleep ups. And they didn't like it. This would be equivalent. What she did would be equivalent to some fat, balding 50-year-old man. If you're a woman, imagine a fat, balding 50-year-old man who's had 3 or 4 divorces, food stains on his shirt, huge gut, screwed up teeth. He's working as a gas station clerk. Imagine him telling you at age 30, you're too old for a man to want you. Women are not going to deal with that well. They're going to, excuse me, you? Fat 50-year-old, crooked teeth, thick glasses, working at a gas station, 3, 4 divorces under your belt. You're telling me that? That's what it was like for these guys, because these guys are salvageable. Most of these guys on Gen Z guys. I, Catherine's done some pretty serious damage to herself. Okay. Now, while her article did have many accurate points, it did not attempt to portray the situation honestly. The sample bias, the focus entirely on the failures of males. It sounds like she got some real bottom of the bucket chicks. I mean, these are the chicks who can't land a man when they're outnumbered like 15 to 1. Like fat, ugly, past Christian men don't want to deal with. A lot of guys out there who are willing to marry a chick with a high body count. What is wrong with these women that they were still single? Um, the then question that was asked was, why is it that so many clergy took the side of Catherine when these nudes came out? And by the way, I want to say something. If that guy had just come out and he had said, I got nudes of Catherine, she's been sending them to me, people go, BS, you're lying. Prove it. Well, what other proof is there other than blurred out photos? No one has answered this for me. The only answer is it was wrong to release them. Well, then it goes to, well, it didn't matter. What business is it of ours? Well, she's a public figure. She's berating these men. I mean, what business is it of hers that these men are low status and they're currently failing? Uh, it isn't her business, supposedly by that standard. Her private life, my private life is your guys' business because I'm now a public figure. Okay. And by the way, if I was, I mean, if it turned, I mean, look, if she had done all the stuff in the past, I'd be like, look, just sure. I probably would not have had her on for a show about dating, maybe a show about just how she came into the church, all these things. Okay, great. Right, God forgives, He heals all of us. He can heal all of us, but there's some things that we do that cause much more damage than others. There's some things you can do that make you a very undesirable marriage partner. Some things you can do that make you ineligible to be clergyman. There's some things you can do that choose the path of your life for you unintentionally, and they're not paths you want to take that limit you. Um, and had she done all this stuff years ago, I would have gone, okay, come on, talk about, your conversion, maybe talk about, challenges you've had. But she would have had to present a very even assessment of the situation. Young guys who are struggling to keep, who are really trying to save themselves from marriage. They don't want to be told by a girl who's been run through like a car wash how low status they are, because those chicks are low status women in these guys' eyes. And by the way, women are going to freak out about this in the comments section. They are not going to like it at all, because women, I mean, the number of women who have high body counts who are now in the church is pretty high. And a lot of them, they're so infected with feminism, they don't want to admit what it's done to them. It's, well, I'm just having fun. That's the old me. No, it's damaged you severely and you haven't come to terms with it. Okay. I'm not saying you have to broadcast it. I'm just saying know where you're from. Know where you're from. This is really important. Don't condemn people for things that you've done. If it came out that I was sending nudes to Jay Dyer, crucify me. I mean, crucify me. Just show. If it came out that I was sending nudes to Jay Dyer while I'm running my, Ubi Petrus channel since, 2018, 19, whenever it was. Now, if I was doing it before, it's fine. But no, I mean, if I mean, like the voice of reason thing. Okay, sure. If he slept around, that's really bad. But if he's doing this while he's running his ministry, it's really bad. And what makes it even worse is that someone who's doing this while they're running a ministry and outreach, they have a deceptive personality. And a deceptive personality means that you are never going to get better. That is the most insidious trait. It means that they use other people, they cannot be trusted. You have to remove them. A person who slept around and fell, that's a problem. A person who is deceptive, though, that absolutely is caustic to the parish, to society, to civilization. And Catherine's a deceptive person. She was creating adult content and disseminating it while continuing to lambaste these guys, these poor guys about it. I'm like, look, okay, a lot of women have sent news. Okay, move on. Ask for God's forgiveness. Move on. Okay. Doesn't mean you're marked forever in God's eyes. A lot of guys don't like that. I've never sent nudes, never received them. Same with my wife. Okay, never sent them, never received them, never been interested. So why is it so many of the clergy didn't they tolerate behavior from women like Catherine like this. And I talked to some clergy about this. I had a few ideas. I've been in the church 23 years. I have friends who are priests. Um, I've been friends with children of priests, so I understand them decently. And I ran these by priests, and they went, "Yep, this is why." Number one reason the clergy tolerate the behavior of women like this, they don't want to deal with a bunch of angry women. It's just that simple. Most priests are reactive, not proactive, and that's because they're managing personalities. So they're always putting out fires. They don't want to deal with Mrs. Baklavopoulos in the office, upset because her granddaughter, who is on, body count a dozen, is suddenly seen as less marriage material than, Mrs. Souvlaki's granddaughter, who's a 22-year-old virgin. The priest doesn't want to deal with it. Okay, and the reason why they beat up on the boys, the reason why the priests come after the young men like this, I'm gonna tell you why. It's because you guys don't stand up for yourselves. I'm just gonna say that. If you respond with, "Oh, yeah," I mean, they're gonna be a lot less likely to push you around. I'm not saying the clergy do. I have seen some clergy that harp on the boys constantly, but I think a lot of it is just them, like, "All right, this is where I can make a difference. I can't deal with Mrs. Baklavopoulos and her her horoscope granddaughter, but I can deal with the situation with the boys. I can deal with Mrs. Baklavopoulos' grandson." Two, the clergy consider the weakest and most vulnerable people first. And you, as a Gen Z guy, you are not as weak and nearly as vulnerable as a woman who slept with 15 guys, made 3 trips to Planned Parenthood, and feels like unliving herself because she realizes that the vast majority of Christian men um, don't want to take on someone that damaged. That woman's a lot more damaged than you. She's a lot more vulnerable than you. And the thing that most men are willing to accept that, the thing that they hate is that these a lot of these women then don't realize where they're from, and they act super entitled. And it's like, let me tell you, if I'd slept with 12 guys, I would not be acting like these chicks. And by the way, that was a joke, 12 guys, not 12 women. Um, if I slept with 12 women, I would not be acting like that, right? You notice the way I'm doing this. This is not going to get the ire of men in the way that Catherine's article has gotten it. And the reason is I'm giving you actual, like as harsh as I can be, I'm offering solutions. It's also a much more, it's very apparent that I want to help you guys. Her article gave none of that. It gave none of that impression. It gave the impression of you guys are complete screw ups. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, I suppose you can, but you're unmarriable. Woe is me. Okay. Whereas I'm going, these are the things you can do about it. Third reason the priests don't want to get into it. Feminism is seeped into the church, and they subconsciously consider women perpetual victims who are never responsible for their own actions. Rachel Wilson nailed it. Go read her Twitter posts on this. Nailed it. Feminism is in part and parcel of Western society, just like Platonism, Stoicism, and Greek language were in the ancient world. The fish does not notice the water in which it swims. A lot of these priests don't realize it. The fourth reason, and this get a lot of heat. A significant number, not most, significant number of the priests I've known and loved were mediocre fathers whose daughters were off the charts, flagrantly promiscuous as acts of rebellion. A lot of these priests have daughters who have been run through, who have been super wild. They're going to take Catherine's side. And the reason they're going to take Catherine's side is that they see their little girl in her. They see daddy's little girl. And when you have a parent, especially when you have daughters, you always see your kids as little kids. Doesn't matter. They're still that 4-year-old, 5-year-old, that sweet, innocent child. And those fathers, they realize their daughters have made mistakes, but those fathers don't want to look at their daughters, especially the priest, and say, my daughter is not marriage material, not even close. And so they see people coming after Catherine, and the priest, he sees himself as Jesus Christ. He sees his daughter as the adulterous woman on the ground, and he sees you guys with he sees the guys with rocks as you guys. He's protecting his daughter. That's how he sees it. I think a lot of them are this way. I think a lot of them don't notice they see it this way. Uh, I can't see any other reason why so many of these priests just cannot get past like the look, this chick is a predator. It's because for a lot of for significant minorities, clergy, they have daughters who are predators. I know one priest who his daughter literally slept her way across the continent, came back with a kid. If I recall correctly, she doesn't know which guy is the father. At least she kept the kid. At least she kept the kid. Kid's a nice person. I know another priest who his daughter was so out of control. She gave us a speech, basically saying whatever my parents told me I shouldn't do, I did it times 10. Um, I tried to plug my ears for most of it. It was so bad. A lot of these priests were not good parents. They were not good parents. They didn't take care of their family. They put the parish first, their family second. And the daughters rebelled, and when they rebelled hard. Hard, hard. And when a daughter really wants to hurt you and rebel, she goes and she sleeps with a bunch of dudes. That's how girls get back at their fathers. They act like horoscopes because they know it's going to destroy their father. Another priest I know, I'm sitting in his front room. His daughter comes in. We start chatting. She's, "Oh, you converted?" Oh, and I was about 20, and she just starts telling me. And by the way, all of these priests I'm talking about are like really conservative guys. These aren't like the boomer Goark priest. No, these are all convert priests. Um, Another priest, I'm sitting in his living room, we're chatting, and she has this husband. He's kind of this like annoying, kind of like beta dude. He talks in a voice like this. Yeah. And he's just kind of like, oh yeah, I'm gonna study there. Yeah. I'm talking with her. She's like, probably 7, 8 years older than me. And she goes, "Yeah, I lived a really wild life." And I'm just right away, I'm just like, I don't want to hear this. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, what do you like to do? And she decides she has to give like this like testimony to me about how many guys she slept with, about how much drugs she did. I'm like, I don't want to hear this. Finally, I really can't deal with. I don't want to hear it. I just got up and I walked away. I'm sure she still remembers being completely scarred by that event. But that's why so many of the clergy they take her side. They don't want to deal with this. They don't want to be screamed at. A fair amount of them have daughters that are completely wild, and they see their daughter and they wouldn't want their daughter getting crucified. Um, they uh, hold on a second. They don't want to get screamed at. They are looking for the weakest, most vulnerable people. Feminism is seeped into the church, and a lot of them have daughters that are out of control because they didn't know how to manage their work-life balance. All right, I'm going to take the last of the super chats, just like the last of the Mohicans, and then I'm going to have to go and get back to Dr. Canty. Hopefully, he has not decided to leave. This could be a good show. Should air on Wednesday. If StreamYard could make their ability to siphon through the comments any worse, I would be impressed. Okay. See, where were we? 10:43, I think. Uh, okay. Man, we got a lot of questions here. I apologize for this awkward pause. I'm having a Gen Z moment by being awkward. So get your super chats in. This. My best advice we did Rachel's great comment, but still a great one to read again. My best advice to women, take radical accountability for anything in your past. Make sure the guy you pick has a virtuous foundation. Put maximum effort into being the best wife you possibly can. Amen. Yeah, phenomenal. Phenomenal. Okay, here we go. Next one. Alex, your PT bro, here's a nice little quote for the convo. Love the way it was taught by our Lord, not the way it is misunderstood and distorted by people, is an expression of sacrifice. That's Elder Friend of Arizona. Thank you. It's wonderful. Thank you for that super chat. Okay. Oh, we already answered that one. I think I missed Alex's earlier. It's very difficult to navigate the comments here on StreamYard. We've had a consistent 400 watching. Okay. Here we go. $10. If you're interested in trades, talk to those in your parish who are in the trades. I'd 100% hire anyone interested. The thing that will keep you employed is your work ethic and honesty. Yeah. There you go. Tell women how many times you've almost died at work. I've been shocked hundreds of times. I kept count, lost count around 200 years ago. I mean, I've been shocked so many times. We got Logan, $50. Thanks, dude. Low T will mess you up. I was 90-ish about a year. Woof. That is low. I was 90-ish about a year ago and most likely been way low for most of my life. But that was due to other medical issues that have been fixed. Up to 350 in the moment. Massive difference just getting to the low end of normal. Yeah, I mean, when I was in my teens, my T levels were around 1,000, which made me extremely cocky and rude. I don't know. I think they're like upper end of normal for a guy my age. But I mean, getting your sleep fixed, that fixing your sleep helps your T so much. Take magnesium to help you sleep, relax, get your diet fixed. Fix your diet, exercise, hang out with men, stop playing video games, stop looking at adult content. Look, I mean, all these things screw up your T levels, and that's just an avalanche. In-laws causing big problems in our marriage. Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. I mean, the thing is that a lot of these people just don't like you because you married their daughter. Um, I don't know the details of it. I mean, people go talk to your priest. I mean, sometimes it's worth going into therapy simply to learn how to handle a situation, to bounce it off of someone who I know a lot of people are very anti-therapy. I think that therapy is grossly overused, but it's good to go into it in the sense of coaching. Maybe you need to learn you need to go into it to be coached on how to deal with difficult in-laws. Maybe you need to go into be coached how to deal with a spouse who is really difficult. I don't know. But I would say that, find someone your own gender um, who can really like coach you through this. Okay, I appreciate this practical advice. The Orthodox have sent me towards the Orthodox have sent me towards the Orthodox Church and liturgy. Thank you. Wonderful. And thank you for that wonderful super chat. Okay, here we go. Next one. Men who are building a life, a business, not necessarily school, are attractive to. Yeah, no kidding. This sets a man apart in a flooded male market. Yeah. I mean, what do you got going on, dude? What do you got going on? You'll never get this type of advice in evangelical Protestant church in America. Yeah, no kidding. It's just like the biggest softies. I mean, it's all this like, hands in the air. Jesus is my teenage crush kind of crap. Yeah. All right. Katie chasing Catharos. Um, both men and women need to step up and show initiative in their parish. Clean up after yourselves. Use your skills to improve the parish. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Someone needs to clean up after me while I'm talking to Ortho Bros. I clean up after myself, actually, um, at church. Okay. The thing that really bothers me is that I got a house before I got a single date. I have approached women and that there is no one in my social circle to pursue. How does improving help when there is no one to improve for? Well, part of it is that you're not in circles where there's actual women. You need to be around where there's women. And I mean, if you want to meet young women, I mean, where are young women hanging out? Guys, oh, the club. No, that is not marriage material. I mean, no, that is not marriage material. Um, find places where women hang out. The other thing is that when you are marriage material, people will start to treat you as it and they'll introduce you to people. If people at church are not introducing you to someone, it means they don't think you're marriage material. Married people know what it takes to get a marriage going. They can look at you and be like, uh-uh. Okay, next one here. Wonderful super chats, guys. I love it. You guys are the best. Um, but yeah, I mean, just try to find like what are women's interests. Look for social skills, whatever. I mean, a few guys who wrote in said they met their wives over like ortho Twitter, but that's flooded. So you got to really stand out. You got to put yourself in front of women in order for women to notice you. They can't date you if they don't know you don't exist. Um, a lot of guys don't realize how awkward they are, how uneasy women feel around them. And like maybe ask an older guy, like, can you watch me while I talk to this woman and just tell me how I do? Um, I don't mean to be ignoring the camera. I'm just going through the chat looking for super chats here. Asking him how am I doing, because maybe that married guy would be like, yeah, you're really like kind of autistic when you're talking to me. Let's get you fixed up here. And you don't think that you're really awkward at all. The proof is in the pudding, though. If you're a guy if women can come talk to you, if you're repeatedly having success talking to women, they come back, they like to talk to you, they spend time around you. That's a sign that you're a guy who can talk to women. Okay. From the emails, how are men meeting women outside? Um, the emails and doing activities they enjoy, doing activities where there's a lot of women. I find a lot of these guys are intimidated by being around women. And, they feel like women can just look right through them, and that's true, women can. They can look right through you, and they can sense when you're not confident. But they're afraid of going into these areas where there's a lot of women, and that's gonna change based on where you are. Okay. Please start online mentorship, Ubi. I only do it in person. I can't yell over an email, and being yelled at is a huge part of your mentorship under me. If I can't verbally accost you in person, I'm not gonna do it. And you're gonna get into that dojo and you're gonna learn how to choke, or I'm gonna choke you out in the cafe. I'll meet you once a week for coffee. All right, how's it going? Well, I haven't gotten into the dojo. You get into that dojo, get some jujitsu or some Muay Thai or some boxing, some judo. If you're really a man, judo like me, but not everyone's as manly as me. So, I mean, jujitsu is great. Look, jujitsu is great. A lot of women do it, but like, you gotta get in there, you gotta learn how to do something masculine, something hard, and if you're gonna be if I'm gonna be your mentor, you're gonna be hitting that dojo hard. You're gonna learn how to choke, and, if you don't get into the dojo that week and start learning how to choke, I'll choke you out in front of the blue-haired, barista with all the metal shit in her face. Um, yeah. Alright, cool. Well, anyway, I am going to call Dr. Canty back. It has been great. 3 hours, 13 minutes. You guys have been amazing. I love this. I want you to comment below and tell me what more do you want? I mean, what should I have added into this stream? How are you going to apply this in your life? If you're a young guy and you're looking for a mentor, go to your priest and just say, "Look, I'm a Gen Z guy or I'm a millennial, whoever. I have no mentors. I don't know what it's like to be a man. Go, I need a mentor. Please help me." And if your priest is like, I don't know, go talk to, I don't know, Mr. Baklavopoulos looks nice. Go to another church. You're going to have better luck dealing with priests who are younger, Gen X and lower. I found a lot of the Gen X priests are good priests, even though I do not like Gen X as parents. They're pretty good priests because they've seen the effects of Gen X parenting. Millennials, there's some good millennial priests out there. But I mean, I would go to those guys and say, "Look, I need a mentor. Help me find someone." You want someone who's not your dad's age, maybe. Well, maybe your dad's age, but a little bit lower than that. Someone's a little bit closer to you who's actually achieved the things that you want. Okay. But if you're going for a mentorship, if you're going to get in shape, comment below. Let us know how it's going. Keep us posted, even years after the fact. I want to know. I really want to help you guys. I want to make sure that you guys have success in life. And so I create these videos, whether it's getting into the trades, how to start, or how to build community in your church, a reading list, the dating crisis, whatever it is. I do these things to help you guys out. I do them to help you out. If I just wanted clicks, I would, just make videos about kittens playing and whatever else. But instead, I do it to help you because I gotta take care of my people. I mean, other males, you're my people, and I realize there's a problem. I also have daughters, so I care very deeply about women. I want my daughters to be around healthy women. I want my daughters to have healthy options as husbands. So, all right, you guys keep it real. You enjoy. Please share this video wherever you can. Um, Please comment below as much as you can, like the video, etc. That helps us fight the armies of third world slop invading the kingdom of YouTube. All right. Wonderful. Blessed ascension. See you guys. Next week I will not be streaming. I will not be streaming next week. So the week after that, I'm probably going to do a video on the monophysites and Nestorians and reading recommendations for them. I do not expect 420 people to be watching that live. Okay. All right. See you.